introduction, and it is indeed humbling for me. And I should also thank Professor Mohammad Atiq, Director of MMTTC at Sant Gadke Baba Amravati University, for giving me this opportunity to come here and share some of my understanding of the theme that has been assigned to me, that is Indian knowledge systems. So, as I start sharing my screen, I would also like to know from the participants, like, what language would you prefer? Should I keep it in English or should it be bilingual? I hope my screen is visible now.
Yes, ma'am, your screen is visible. Participants, can you anyone confirm regarding with regards to language? Can we go bilingual or only English? Please confirm anyone.
I think bilingual is done, I guess.
Bilingual it will be fine. Okay, Shelly.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So khichdi is always better, right? It is good for everyone. So let me just give you a glimpse, like you know that this NEP orientation and sensitization program, this is one of the flagship program of the UGC, where we are trying to reach to over 15 lakh teachers in various higher education institutions and to sensitize them about the various aspects of national education policy, which was released more than 5.5 years back, to be precise, on July 29, 2020. And different states, because education being in the concurrent list, so that means that both the state and the central agencies are responsible or are have to align together for its implementation. And in this respect, different states are at the different stages of implementation. And during this session, I would certainly also like to hear from you, if you have adopted some best practices or if you have introduced some special courses which are related to IKS. I would be very happy if you can just share it, maybe during the session or at the end of the session, right? So, as I start, uh, yeah, so this is to give you a glimpse of the place where I am presently associated with, that is Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla Vishwavidyalaya, which is located in the capital city of Chhattisgarh, that is Raipur. But another purpose is also to share with you the motto of our university, which is derived from one of the ancient texts, that is Isha Upanishad, and which says, Agne Naye Supatha Rai. And if we go by its translation, it means, O fire, lead us on a virtuous path to prosperity. ये अग्नि या हे स्वप्रकाश हमें सन्मार्ग से कन अ, हमें कर्म फल भोग के लिए सन्मार्ग पर ले चल. So I think this is the objective with which we all teachers are working in whichever institutions, in whatever roles that we may be associated with. Our basic aim remains not only to educate our students, but also to make them ready for the future where they can lead a prosperous life, they can contribute to the society. But at the same time, it is also our responsibility, moral responsibility, I should say, that we instill in them values, certain values that they take forward, and whatever roles that they are playing, they do not leave them behind. Right? So, with this, I would like to just share with you what Professor Kapil Kapoor has observed. How many have you heard about this Kapil Kapoor? Professor Kapil Kapoor? Is any idea? Professor Kapil Kapoor, he's a retired professor from JNU, and he has done a lot of work which is related to Indian knowledge systems and Indian knowledge traditions. And it is actually he who have coined this term of Indian knowledge tradition. And you can always refer to his works. You can find many also videos on YouTube from which you will get an very good understanding, basics about what are the various uh, what is the need for us to include IKS in our curriculum. And it was his seminal work, we should say, which gave this direction and to the inclusion of IKS in our NEPs, right? So what he has observed, and very rightly observed, that India's knowledge tradition is ancient and uninterrupted, like the flow of the river Ganga, from the Vedas, Upanishads to Sri Aurobindo. The knowledge or the jnana, this has been at the center of all the rational and speculative inquiry in India. So, a lot of emphasis has always been placed on knowledge or on jnana. So, whenever we are talking or about the knowledge systems or any discussion which are related to knowledge, and especially in the Indian context, there are these three terms that we will always hear about. और ये जो तीन टर्म्स हैं ये हैं आपके दर्शन, ज्ञान और विद्या। और कई बार अगर हम इसका ट्रांसलेशन अगर ढूंढना चाहें तो इंग्लिश में सही तरह से इसका ट्रांसलेशन जो एग्जैक्ट इसका मीनिंग कन्वे कर सके वो शायद हमको नहीं मिल पाएगा। लेकिन कुछ जो क्लोजेस्ट अगर हम कहें वर्ड्स इसके आते हैं, जब हम दर्शन की बात करते हैं, दर्शन यानी कि दैट इज द फिलॉसफी, या जो क्या नजरिया है हमारा, व्हाट इज द पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू विच अल्टीमेटली लीड्स टू ज्ञान, दैट इज नॉलेज। और जब हम उस नॉलेज को किसी पर्टिकुलर डोमेन के अंडर में उसको बहुत सिस्टमैटिक तरीके से उसको ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं, उसको उसके ऊपर रिफ्लेक्ट करते हैं, उसको यूज करते हैं, उसको अपने टीचिंग लर्निंग में एक स्पेसिफिक डायरेक्शन में जब हम यूज करते हैं, देन इट इज नोन एज द विद्या और द डिसिप्लिन। तो ये टर्म्स आपको हमेशा कहीं ना कहीं ये टर्म्स का हमको सामना करना ही पड़ेगा। नाउ द क्वेश्चन नाउ अराइजेस कि हम इस इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम्स की जब बात कर रहे हैं तो इसके ऊपर क्यों इतना एम्फोसिस किया जा रहा है। आजकल हम देखें कि ये टर्म जब भी किसी भी प्लेटफॉर्म पर जब हायर एजुकेशन की बात हो या इवन स्कूल एजुकेशन की भी जब बात आती है तो ये टर्म बार बार हमको सुनाई देता है या बार बार हमारे सामने आता है। और ये क्यों आता है और इसको क्यों एनईपी में इंक्लूड किया गया, अगर इसके ऊपर हम थोड़ा सा अगर सोचना चाहें, देखना चाहें कि बेसिक ऑब्जेक्टिव इसका क्या रहा है, तो अगर देखें कि हमारा जो नॉलेज सिस्टम रहा वो कोई एक नया नॉलेज सिस्टम नहीं है कि पिछले कुछ सालों में जो डेवलप हुआ है, but rather we should say it has been there since a very long time। और आप देखें कि जो इंडियन सोसाइटी है, कई बार ये जो हम नॉलेज सिस्टम्स की बात करते हैं तो ये नॉलेज सिस्टम्स हमको अलग अलग तरीके से दिखाई देता है, अलग अलग डोमेन्स में दिखाई देता है। कई बार कुछ अनस्ट्रक्चर्ड फॉर्म में भी ये नॉलेज हमको दिखाई देता है। और ये जो नॉलेज है, ये जो इसका हमारा खजाना है या जो ट्रेजर ट्रफ जिसकी बात कह रहे हैं, दैट हैज बीन गेन्ड ओवर थाउजेंड्स ऑफ ईयर्स। मतलब कुछ सिर्फ कुछ चंद सालों की बात नहीं है बल्कि हजारों सालों से ये चीजें एक्यूमुलेट होती गई, रिफाइन होती गई, और इसको हम अलग अलग फॉर्म्स में देख सकते हैं। एंड इट इज मैनिफेस्टेड इन डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स ऑफ लैंग्वेजेस, आर्ट्स, लिटरेचर। जो हमारे ट्रेडिशंस हैं, कस्टम्स हैं, आर्किटेक्चर है, उसका उसमें कहीं ना कहीं हमको इसका रिफ्लेक्शन हमको दिखाई देता है। और ये जो प्रैक्टिसेस, हम जब बात करते हैं कि जो कुछ प्रैक्टिसेस हैं या जो ट्रेडिशंस हैं या जो कस्टम्स हैं, ये सारे आप देखें कि ओवर द सेंचुरीज ये एक जनरेशन से दूसरे जनरेशन तक पास ऑन होती गई हैं। और जैसा कि मैंने पहले भी कहा कि ये जो है, कई बार इसका कोई स्पेसिफिक रिटन फॉर्म में नहीं है। बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो कि ओरल ट्रेडिशंस के थ्रू पास ऑन हुई हैं, या जिसको कि हम श्रुति परंपरा कहते हैं। और ये जो पास, जब हम कहते हैं एक जनरेशन से दूसरे जनरेशन तक पास होता गया, तो पिछले कुछ जनरेशन्स में हम देखें कि ये जो ट्रांसमिशन है नॉलेज का, इसमें कहीं ना कहीं एक अब्रप्शंस आए हैं, या इसमें कुछ अ, एक ब्रेक हुआ है। और ये ब्रेक होने के कारण आप देखते हैं कि बहुत सारी ऐसी चीजें हैं जो कहीं ना कहीं वो लुप्त होती जा रही हैं, या कहीं हम उसको लॉस, उसका लॉ, वी आर लूजिंग दैट रिच नॉलेज ट्रेडिशंस। तो इसी बात को ध्यान में रखते हुए ही द एनईपी हैज बीन laying special emphasis. I hope all of you have gone through the National Education Policy document, and it will be my earnest advice or earnest request to all of you that अगर आपने इस डॉक्यूमेंट को नहीं पढ़ा है तो जरूर इसको पढ़ लीजिए, क्योंकि बहुत बड़ा डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं है। इंग्लिश में इट इज हार्डली 66 पेजेस, और हिंदी में अगर देखें तो अराउंड 105 106 पेजेस का ये डॉक्यूमेंट है। और इस डॉक्यूमेंट को पढ़ना हमारे लिए एज टीचर्स फ्रॉम द हायर एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस ये बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि हम ही वो मेजर स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं जिनके थ्रू ये पॉलिसी जो है ग्राउंड लेवल पर इम्प्लीमेंट होनी है। एंड अगर हम, क्योंकि हम वो मेजर पॉइंट ऑफ कांटेक्ट हैं जहां पर हम स्टूडेंट्स के कांटेक्ट में भी हम आते हैं, पेरेंट्स के कांटेक्ट में भी आते हैं, आपकी जो नॉन टीचिंग स्टाफ है इंस्टीट्यूशंस में उनके भी कांटेक्ट में आते हैं, जो फ्यूचर एम्प्लॉयर्स हैं आपके, उनके कांटेक्ट में भी आते हैं। तो जब तक हम खुद नहीं समझेंगे कि इसके ऊपर एनईपी में हमारे पास क्या क्या हमारे पास प्रावधान हमको दिए जा रहे हैं, और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है उसके पीछे की स्पिरिट को समझना। कई बार कई चीजें जो होती हैं, आप अक्षरतः अगर उसका ट्रांसलेशन करें, और उसके पीछे की स्पिरिट को समझना बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी रहता है। तो अगर आप एनईपी का डॉक्यूमेंट पढ़ेंगे तो आप देखेंगे कि इसमें बहुत एम्फोसिस दिया गया है, बहुत जोर दिया गया है कि हम जो इंडियन लैंग्वेजेस हैं, आर्ट्स एंड कल्चर हैं, इसके ऊपर एम्फोसिस जरूर किया गया है। और ये जो आईकेएस का जो फ्लो है, जो एक जनरेशन से दूसरे जनरेशन तक पास ऑन होता रहा, और जहां उसमें कुछ डिसकंटिन्यूटी आ गई है, उसको सॉल्व, प्रॉब्लम को हल करना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। और एनईपी ने इसलिए एम्फसाइज किया कि अगर हम इसको अपने करिकुलम का अगर हम एक हिस्सा बना लें, तो कहीं ना कहीं जो हम अपने, जो फ्यूचर जनरेशन, जो हमारे छात्र हमारे कैंपसेस में आ रहे हैं, जो हमारे प्रोग्राम्स में एनरोल हो रहे हैं, हम उन तक इन चीजों को पहुंचा सकेंगे। तो ये एक बहुत स्ट्रक्चर्ड तरीके से आईकेएस को इसमें इंक्लूड करने की बात की गई है। और क्योंकि टीचर्स, जैसे मैंने कहा कि सबसे ज्यादा जो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, और ये सक्सेस होगा या नहीं होगा, ये इसकी जवाबदारी शायद हम टीचर्स के ऊपर ही है। और ये सारी बातें जो है मैं आपको कोट कर रही हूँ फ्रॉम द यूजीसी गाइडलाइंस जो है फॉर द ट्रेनिंग ऑफ द फैकल्टी ऑन आईकेएस। नाउ जब हम बात करते हैं कि कुछ डिसकंटिन्यूटी की जहां पर बात आ रही है, तो ऐसे बहुत सारे नॉलेज सिस्टम्स हैं जो कहीं पर हमने प्रॉपर डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं किया, या हमने उसको हमेशा अपने एक ट्रेडिशंस का एक हिस्सा माना, हमने कभी उसको कमर्शलाइज करने की कोशिश नहीं की। लेकिन उस कारण से एक ये भी कई बार कई ऐसे केसेस आए, स्पेशली कुछ इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टीज से रिलेटेड, जहां पर जो हमारा ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज था, उसको दूसरों ने उसको कमर्शलाइज करने की कोशिश की। इसमें आपने सभी ने नीम पेटेंट का किस्सा सुना होगा। ये बहुत ज्यादा इसको कवरेज भी मिला था। एनीवन? सो नीम पेटेंट का जो किस्सा था वो क्या था कि एक यूरोपियन सॉरी अमेरिकन कंपनी थी, WR ग्रेस। उन्होंने एक US पेटेंट के लिए अप्लाई किया और उनको एक पेटेंट ग्रांट भी हो गया। किसके लिए? नीम की फंगिसाइडल प्रॉपर्टीज के लिए। और आप सभी जानते हैं कि इंडियन कंटेक्स्ट में नीम जो है दैट हैज बीन यूज्ड सिंस एजेस फॉर इट्स फंगिसाइडल, फॉर इट्स पेस्टिसाइड प्रॉपर्टीज। लेकिन हमने कभी उसको अपनी इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी राइट का क्लेम हमने स्थापित करने की कोशिश नहीं की, या उसको कमर्शियली हम किसी एक प्रोडक्ट के फॉर्म में उसको एक्सक्लूसिविटी के लिए हमने कभी ये कोशिश नहीं की। लेकिन जो ये US कंपनी थी, इन्होंने यूरोपियन पेटेंट के लिए अप्लाई किया और उनको पेटेंट ग्रांट भी हो गया। जब ये पेटेंट ग्रांट हो गया तब ये बात सामने आई, और उस समय पर बहुत सारे इंडियन और इंटरनेशनल ग्रुप्स उन्होंने इस चीज का अपोज किया। और किस ग्राउंड पर अपोज किया? कि दिस नॉलेज दैट नीम हैज fungicidal properties, it has been known since ages and it has been used in India for a very very long time for these properties। और इसका जो आप कह सकते हैं इसको बहुत विगरसली इसको कंटेक्स्ट किया गया, और अल्टीमेटली जो है यूरोपियन पेटेंट ऑफिस को ये जो पेटेंट है इसको रिवोक करना पड़ा इन द ईयर 2000। जहां पर क्योंकि ये बात सामने हो गई कि ये जो क्लेम है ये नयापन नहीं है, और इट इज बेस्ड ऑन द ट्रेडिशनल यूज ऑफ नीम। इसी तरह से एक और जो केस था जो आप सभी ने कहीं ना कहीं पढ़ा होगा या सुना होगा, दैट वाज अबाउट द टर्मरिक पेटेंट। टर्मरिक पेटेंट में क्या था कि 1995 में US एक पेटेंट ग्रांट हुआ फॉर द टर्मरिक फॉर इट्स वुंड हीलिंग प्रॉपर्टी। और ये आप हम सभी जानते हैं, कहीं पे भी चोट लगती है तो वहां पर हम हल्दी लगाते हैं, है ना। और दिस हैज बीन अवर एंशियंट प्रैक्टिस, ट्रेडिशनली इसको हम यूज करते आ रहे हैं। लेकिन जब US कंपनी ने टर्मरिक की इस प्रॉपर्टी के लिए उन्होंने पेटेंट के लिए उनको ग्रांट हुआ, और इसको CSIR उस समय पर काउंसिल ऑफ साइंटिफिक इंडस्ट्रियल रिसर्च और स्पेशली डॉक्टर R A माशेलकर उन्होंने काफी इसमें अ, इसको बहुत सीरियसली इन चीजों को लेते हुए उसको चैलेंज किया। और उसके सपोर्ट में उन्होंने बहुत सारे संस्कृत के टेक्स्ट, ऑलमोस्ट 32 रेफरेंसेस सबमिट किए, जहां पर कुछ संस्कृत टेक्स्ट भी थे जिसमें कि ये बात प्रूव हो रही थी कि टर्मरिक जो है या हल्दी जो है इसको हम इसके वुंड हीलिंग प्रॉपर्टीज के लिए इनको यूज किया जाता था। तो इस तरह से क्योंकि हमारे पास इन चीजों के डॉक्यूमेंट थे, पुराने डॉक्यूमेंट थे, उसलिए हम इन चीजों को कंटेस्ट कर पाए, है ना, एट द कोर्ट। लेकिन ऐसी और भी बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जहां पर शायद हमारे पास कोई रिटन डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं है, बट इट इज अ पार्ट ऑफ अवर ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज। एंड अनलेस एंड अनटिल we ourselves are aware about it, here we means the both we as the teachers and our students जो कि शायद आगे चलकर कहीं ना कहीं इन सेक्टर्स में काम करने वाले हैं, अगर उनको इस बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं होगी या वो नहीं जान पाएंगे, या ऐसे टेक्स्ट के रिसोर्सेस की उनको जानकारी नहीं होगी, तो कहीं ना कहीं हमारा जो ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज है उसको हम वी में लूज इट टू ऑल दिस। जो IPR रेजीम है उसमें हम बहुत हमारा बड़ा लॉस हो सकता है। तो जब हम बात करते हैं कि हमेशा इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम्स और ट्रेडिशंस इट इज वेरी रिच, तो कई बार ये जब बात हम करते हैं तो थोड़ा सा इट अपियर्स लाइक वी आर ब्लोइंग अवर ओन ट्रम्पेट, राइट? बट when we refer to what other established scientists have observed, I think this gains more weightage, right? So here I quote from Albert Einstein, who very rightly observed that we owe a lot to the Indians who taught us how to count, without which no worthwhile scientific discovery could have been made. So इसी तरह से आप देखें कि जब हमारा जो नॉलेज सिस्टम्स रहा है, नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी डॉक्यूमेंट में भी ये बात को एम्फसाइज किया गया है कि जो हमारी एंशियंट हेरिटेज है एंड द इटर्नल आईकेएस, this has been the guiding light for this policy. And because in our system, you can say the pursuit of knowledge, that is jnana, or wisdom, that is pragya, and truth, that is satya, this was always considered as the highest human goal. And not only in this part of the region, but our culture and our philosophy and our knowledge systems, it has also had a strong influence on the other parts of the world. एंड इट इज वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट कि हमारा जो ये रिच कल्चरल हेरिटेज है, इसको हमको नर्चर करना, इसको हमको प्रिजर्व करना। और ऐसे बहुत सारे शायद डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं या ऐसे बहुत सारे क्लेम्स हम कह सकते हैं जिसको इंटरप्रेट करना, जिनको साइंटिफिकली वैलिडेट करना, बिकॉज इन द प्रेजेंट टाइम्स, unless and until we have the evidence based studies, we cannot expect the wide acceptance of the claims that are made in these texts. So it is also very important that we also have to do research, very study all this in a very systematic manner, and how, and see to it ki what is the relevance of all these knowledge systems in the present context. And the attempt here of the NEP is to see to it that IKS is integrated into our education system, and we have to sensitize our students to explore the ways in which, whether the these knowledge systems have some solutions for the problems that are prevailing around us. So with this, we all have heard about so many names who are the, you can say, some of the most influential thinkers of ancient India, whether we are talking about Aryabhatta or Nagarjuna और पतंजलि और चाणक्य और वराहमिहिर, ऐसे बहुत सारे नाम हमको सुनाई देते हैं, और इनके कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस क्या हैं ये शायद हम सभी जानते हैं। और लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं इनका जो कंट्रीब्यूशन रहा है, वो हमारे जो टेक्स्ट हैं, जो हमारे करिकुलम है, उसमें इसका इंक्लूजन नहीं हुआ है, राइट। just to share some very common जो कि contributions रहे हैं, लेकिन उसका शायद हमको कहीं पर मेंशन नहीं मिलता। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, जो कनाद की जो एटॉमिक थ्योरी थी, he gave that in 6th century BC, and this matches with the Dalton's atomic theory, right? इसी तरह से जो नागार्जुना थे, नागार्जुना who was in the 10th century AD, उनका भी केमिस्ट्री और मेटलर्जी में बहुत ज्यादा कंट्रीब्यूशन रहा है। और उनके जो मेथड्स थे फॉर एल्केमी के जो कॉन्सेप्ट्स के बेसिस पे जो मेथड्स थे, वो आज भी हम देखते हैं कि जो ऑर्नामेंटल ज्वेलरी है या गोल्ड प्लेटिंग में जो यूज किया जाता है, इट इज स्टिल द प्रिंसिपल्स विच हैज बीन गिवन बाय देम। ओके, सो इन दिस वे यू विल सी दैट नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में ये बात हो रही है कि हमको जो हमारा नॉलेज है फ्रॉम एंशिएंट इंडिया और उसके क्या कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस रहे हैं, उसके बारे में हमको अपने स्टूडेंट्स को अवेयर कराना है। साथ ही साथ वी ऑल्सो हैव टू सी टू इट कि जब हम एंशियंट नॉलेज ट्रेडिशंस की बात करते हैं तो यहाँ पर जो ट्राइबल नॉलेज है, जो इंडिजीनियस नॉलेज है, क्योंकि हर हमारे देश भर में ऐसे बहुत सारे एरियाज हैं, ऐसे बहुत सारे पॉकेट्स हैं where there is a very rich tribal population, and these tribal population they are maybe confined to that particular area. जो इनका नॉलेज है वो बहुत ज्यादा इन्होंने प्रिजर्व करके भी रखा हुआ है, प्रिजर्व तो करके रखा हुआ है, लेकिन कई बार वो चीजें खुलकर सामने भी नहीं आई हैं। तो वी जब हम इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम्स की बात करते हैं तो दैट ऑल्सो इंक्लूड्स द ट्राइबल नॉलेज एंड द इंडिजीनियस एंड ट्रेडिशनल वेज ऑफ लर्निंग, और उनके डिफरेंट डिसिप्लिन्स में, डोमेन्स में क्या रोल रहा है, या उसको हम किस तरह से प्रेजेंट टाइम पे यूज कर सकते हैं। फॉर इंस्टेंस की जो ट्राइबल पॉपुलेशंस हैं उनके अपने मेडिसिनल सिस्टम्स हैं, उन्होंने अपने फॉरेस्ट को बहुत अच्छे से उन्होंने प्रिजर्व करके रखा हुआ है। तो उसके पीछे की उनकी सोच क्या है, वो क्या ऐसे मेथड्स यूज करते हैं, वो ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग की जो बात आती है। ये सारी चीजें भी हमारी नॉलेज ऑफ इंडिया या जो ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज सिस्टम्स हैं उसमें आ जाता है। इसके साथ ही एनईपी इज ऑल्सो सेइंग दैट वी ऑल्सो हैव टू introduce some specific courses in tribal ethno-medicinal practices, for forest management, then for traditional and organic crop cultivation, natural farming। तो इनसे related भी courses को हम design कर सकते हैं, right? So here, I would also again like to take one quote from Mark Twain, who is the famous author, who observed that India is the cradle of the human race, the birthplace of human speech, the mother of history, and the grandmother of legend, and the great grandmother of tradition. Our most valuable and most constructive materials in the history of man are treasured up in India only. ये मैं फिर से इसलिए बात ला रही हूँ क्योंकि somehow we have that inclination or temptation for validation from external sources. So there are many such testimonials that you can find which have always appreciated the rich knowledge systems that has prevailed in this part of the world. Now, coming to the next question, or I would like to know from the participants, like, what do you mean by IKS? When we use this term IKS, what does it actually mean? Yes, please. I hope my voice is reaching out to you because I cannot see anyone. So क्या
Yes,
होता क्या है IKS? What is basically IKS? What does IKS stand for?
Indian knowledge
Indian knowledge.
system.
Okay. Indian knowledge system. And what is this Indian knowledge system?
Basically, it's an innovative some cell which comes under a Ministry of Education, I guess, in AICT.
Okay. Yeah, that is, you're talking about the IKS division, right? Yeah, IKS division under the Ministry of Education. But here, I just wanted to know, when we hear the term IKS, what does come to your mind?
Our historical knowledge means
How you
Our
can incorporate the historical knowledge to the new technologies, or how the old techniques are going to help us to pursue a good knowledge in, related to the new technologies.
Okay. Anyone else would like to add something to it?
Just like, for example, if you are using a old agricultural, ancient old agricultural techniques, or the like, and how how that techniques are helpful to the modern day techniques, so that uh, the production or the good quality of crops can be there.
Okay, okay, yeah. Yeah, thank you for that input. So when we are talking, or when we are hearing the term IKS, different things are coming to our mind, and depending upon the perspective that we are having. And I hope all of you have heard about, read this parable about blind man and the elephant, right? आपने सबने पढ़ी होगी या कभी सुना भी होगा। बहुत कॉमन एक स्टोरी रही है कि जहां पर एक एलिफेंट को, मतलब 6 ब्लाइंड मैन हैं, उन्होंने कभी, जन्म से ही वो ब्लाइंड हैं, उन्होंने कभी हाथी देखा नहीं है, एंड दे आर आस्क्ड टू आइडेंटिफाई दिस ऑब्जेक्ट, राइट? So, because the elephant is so huge and they are trying to feel it, और जिस व्यक्ति के हिस्से में जो हिस्सा आ रहा है उसके बेसिस पे वो उस चीज को एक्सप्लेन करना करते हैं कि ये क्या है। जैसे जिसके हाथ में उसका ट्रंक आ रहा है, दे सेड सूंड आती है, वो कहते हैं कि ये शायद स्नेक है। जिसके हाथ में उसके दांत आए, टस्क आए, दे सेड इट इज अ स्पीयर, भाला है। जिनके हाथ में कान जिन्होंने टच किया, दे सेड इट लाइक इट इज ही सेड दैट ही इट इज अ फैन। जिसके हाथ में पिलर आया, पैर आया, उसने कहा कि ये कोई खंबा है या पिलर है। जिसके हाथ में बॉडी टच किया, दे सेड इट इज अ वॉल। और जिसके हाथ में पूंछ आई, उन्होंने कहा कि ये शायद कोई रस्सी है। तो उसी तरह से आईकेएस भी है। आईकेएस का डोमेन बहुत ही वास्ट है, और अगर हम इसको समझना चाहें तो इसको सही तरह से समझने के लिए कि एक्चुअली में आईकेएस है क्या, सो वी हैव टू ब्रेक इट इनटू इट्स वर्ड्स, दैट इज इंडियन नॉलेज एंड सिस्टम्स। तो यहाँ पर जब हम इंडियन टर्म की बात करते हैं, तो हियर द टर्म इंडियन एक्चुअली मीन्स दी, आपका इंडियन से कंटेक्स्ट यहाँ पर है कि जो आपका कल्चरल इंडियन की बात करते हैं, ना कि जो जियोग्राफिकल लेबल है। और जब इंडियन का वर्ड का मतलब क्या है कि जो भी इंडिजिनियस सोर्सेज है, जो कि इंडियंस के द्वारा जनरेट किया गया है, दैट इज योर इंडियन हियर। नाउ यहाँ पर जो लेबल आप कह सकते हैं, वो प्रेजेंट डे इंडियन जो ज्योग्राफिकल बाउंड्रीज है उसमें हम नहीं कन्फाइन हो सकते। वी हैव टू टेक इन टू अकाउंट द अनडिवाइडेड इंडियन सब कॉन्टिनेंट, और द अखंड भारत की जो बात होती है, जहां पर अर्लियर इट रेंज फ्रॉम राइट फ्रॉम द बर्मा टिल द अफगानिस्तान, एंड फ्रॉम द कन्याकुमारी टू से टिल कश्मीर, राइट? तो इस पूरे रीजन के लोगों के द्वारा जो भी इंडिजिनियस नॉलेज जनरेट किया गया, और ऐसा भी है कि जो इन दिस जब इंडिया की हम बात करते हैं, तो यहाँ पर बहुत अलग अलग जगह से लोग आए, यहाँ पर बसे, और कुछ लोग यहाँ आकर अ, बस गए, और यहाँ के कल्चर में इंटीग्रेट हो गए। जो अपनी कल्चर और प्रैक्टिसेस वो लेकर आए थे, वो भी यहाँ पर फुल्ली उन्होंने इंटीग्रेट कर लिया। तो ऐसी बहुत सारी चीजें हैं, आप देखेंगे, जो कि कई आर्ट फॉर्म्स में भी हमको रिफ्लेक्ट होता है, विच इज अ वेरी ब्यूटिफुल अमेलगमेशन ऑफ द ट्रेडिशंस दैट दे ब्रॉट अलोंग from the other parts of the world, and once they settled here, that beautiful amalgamation can be seen। तो ये सारी चीजें हम इंडियन में आ जाती है। तो ऐसा भी है कि बहुत सारे ट्रैवलर्स भी आए, जो कि इस इंडिया में आए, उन्होंने यहाँ पर रहे, यहाँ के जो इंडियन टेक्स्ट है उनको पढ़ा, उनका ट्रांसलेशन किया। लेकिन इनके जो ट्रांसलेशंस हैं, वो हम आईकेएस का हिस्सा नहीं कह सकते। दे आर नॉट आईकेएस, बट यू कैन से दे आर अबाउट द आईकेएस। So this, I hope now the term, when what we mean when we say the term Indian means. नाउ व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट नॉलेज, नॉलेज का मतलब यहाँ पर होता है कि जो भी जानकारी which has emanated from the wisdom and insights arising out of deep experiences, observations, experimentation and analysis, और जिसको कि वैलिडेट किया गया, जिसको इम्प्रूव किया गया, और उसमें कुछ ना कुछ चीजें एडिशन होती गई। ऐसा नहीं रहा कि वो स्टैग्नेंट रहा, वो एक डायनामिक स्ट्रक्चर में फंक्शन करता रहा है। और ये जो नॉलेज सिस्टम्स हैं ये आपको अलग अलग तरीके से दिखाई देता है। सम आर प्रेजेंट इन दी टेक्स्ट फॉर्म, सम आर प्रेजेंट इन दी ओरल फॉर्म या जो श्रुति परंपरा की हम बात करते हैं, सम मे बी अवेलेबल इन दी फॉर्मल नॉलेज, फॉर्मल नॉलेज यानी कि जो लिटरेरी सोर्सेज हैं उसके फॉर्म में दिखते हैं, कुछ हमको इनफॉर्मल वे में दिखते हैं। और ये जो नॉलेज है आप देखते हैं कि इट इज अवेलेबल इन all the three domains, whether we talk about the religious, spiritual, and also for the social and for the day-to-day issues also. And when we are using the term systems, हालांकि कई जगह पर आप देखें कि इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम्स की जगह इंडियन नॉलेज ट्रेडिशंस भी टर्म यूज किया जाता है, बट यहाँ पर जब हम सिस्टम्स वर्ड हम यूज कर रहे हैं, द सिस्टम हियर मीन्स द that it is a very structured methodology has been used, और इसको बहुत एक सिस्टमैटिक तरीके से इसको क्लासिफाई किया गया। जो भी अवेलेबल नॉलेज है, जो कॉर्पस ऑफ नॉलेज है, उसको बहुत सिस्टमैटिक तरीके से अरेंज किया गया है फॉर इट्स इफेक्टिव ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, फॉर ट्रांसमिशन एंड प्रिजर्वेशन। तो जब हम आईकेएस जो यूजीसी की जो गाइडलाइंस है उसमें ये डेफिनेशन भी दी गई है कि आईकेएस क्या है। सो इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम encompasses all of the systematized disciplines of knowledge which were developed to a high degree of sophistication in India from ancient times, and all of the traditions and practices that the various communities of India, including the tribal communities, have evolved, refined and preserved over the generations. ये IKS के अंदर आती है। Now there are also certain misconceptions about IKS. When we are using the term IKS, कई बार कुछ कुछ भ्रांतियां या कुछ myths इसको सराउंड करती हैं। One of the common myths is कि IKS जो है, it is a discipline or it is a subject or it is a specialization. So that is a wrong notion. जो भी आप रेड फॉन्ट में देखेंगे अगली कुछ स्लाइड्स में, वो कुछ मिसकंसेप्शंस हैं। सही में क्या है कि आईकेएस जो है, इट इज अ लेबल विच वी आर गिविंग टू अ कलेक्शन ऑफ डिसिप्लिन्स विच आर इंटरकनेक्टेड टू ईच अदर। तो आईकेएस कोई एक डिसिप्लिन नहीं है, हर डिसिप्लिन में हमको आईकेएस का एक हिस्सा दिखाई दे सकता है। Now, another misconception is that IKS is Sanskrit या IKS is only done by Sanskrit people. कि IKS को जानने के लिए, समझने के लिए और प्रैक्टिस करने के लिए हमको संस्कृत की जानकारी चाहिए, ऐसा कतई नहीं है, बिकॉज संस्कृत इज जस्ट अ लैंग्वेज और IKS जो है ये अलग अलग भाषाओं में इसको हम पा सकते हैं। बट द ओनली केस इज कि संस्कृत में जो लिटरेचर है वो शायद उसका वॉल्यूम ज्यादा है, तो कई बार इसलिए ये गलत चीजें उभर के सामने आती हैं कि आईकेएस सिर्फ संस्कृत से ही रिलेटेड है। दूसरा जो एक और मिसकंसेप्शन है कि आईकेएस इज वेरी एंशियंट, सो दैट इज ऑल्सो अ रॉन्ग नोशन, क्योंकि आईकेएस इट इंक्लूड्स ऑल द नॉलेज ट्रेडिशंस ऑफ द इंडिया, वेदर दे आर ऑफ द पास्ट और द प्रेजेंट। और हमारे सिस्टम में ये एक बहुत ही हेल्दी ट्रेडिशन रहा है कि जो नॉलेज जो क्रिएट होता रहा है उसको रिफाइन भी होता रहा है ना। तो ये हम कह सकते हैं कि ये जो रिफाइनमेंट तो हो रहा है, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं उसका जो बेसिस है या उसके जो प्रिंसिपल्स हैं, दे आर बेस्ड ऑन द ओल्डर वर्क्स। तो यू कैन नॉट लेबल ऑल द आईकेएस एज द एंशियंट, कि उन कई चीजों को हमने रिफाइन किया गया है, उसमें कई नई चीजें ऐड हुई हैं, कई पुरानी चीजें जो ऐसी लगता था जो रिडंडेंट है वो चीजें अब हम देखते हैं कि वो प्रैक्टिस में नहीं है। इसी तरह से एक और जो मिसकंसेप्शन आता है कि आईकेएस इज ओनली रिटन बाय हिंदूज। नाउ दैट एक्चुअली डिपेंड्स कि हिंदू से हमारा मतलब क्या है। तो अगर हम ये हिंदू टर्म का अगर हम ओरिजिन अगर देखें, सो दैट वाज बेसिकली द टर्म विच वाज गिवन फॉर द पीपल हु लिव्ड बियॉन्ड द रिवर सिंधु, राइट। सो बियॉन्ड सिंध रिवर से बियॉन्ड जो रहते थे उनको हिंदू कहा जाता था। और बहुत सारे आईकेएस आप सिस्टम आप देखें कि वो हर रिलीजन के उसमें आते हैं। सो अगर हम हिंदू को रिलीजन के फॉर्म में भी ले लें तब भी आप देखें कि ना केवल हिंदू लेकिन दूसरे धर्मों का भी उसमें आईकेएस में बहुत कंट्रीब्यूशन रहा है, वेदर वी टॉक अबाउट जैन, बुद्धा, सिख्स और मुस्लिम्स, इनके भी स्कॉलर्स ने इसमें काफी कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस हमको दिखाई देता है। अनदर मिसकंसेप्शन इज कि आईकेएस जो है दैट इज मेनली स्पिरिचुअलिज्म से या अध्यात्म से रिलेटेड। ऐसा भी नहीं है, क्योंकि आप देखें कि इंडिया का कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस जो है आपको हर फील्ड में हमको दिखाई दे जाएगा। चाहे वो एस्ट्रोनॉमी की बात हो, चाहे आज भी आप देखें कि जो डेट्स का प्रिडिक्शन होता है, जो आपके सोलर इक्लिप्स और लूनर इक्लिप्सेस के प्रिडिक्शन होते हैं, दे आर स्टिल बेस्ड ऑन दी एंशियंट जो कैलेंडर्स थे, उस बेसिस पर ही प्लैनेट्स के मूवमेंट्स की जो स्टडीज हैं, उनके जो प्रेडिक्शंस हैं वो किए जाते हैं। एंड आयुर्वेदा अगर हम देखते हैं, दैट इज ऑल्सो वेरी फुल साइंस बेस्ड सब्जेक्ट। वैदिक मैथमेटिक्स की बात करते हैं, मेटलर्जी में भी ऐसे बहुत सारे एग्जाम्पल्स हैं। आई विल जस्ट शेयर यू इन द नेक्स्ट फ्यू लाइन्स। एंड लिंग्विस्टिक्स में भी आप देखें बहुत सारे ऐसे कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस हमको दिखाई देते हैं जहां पर we cannot say that IKS is only restricted to the spiritualism. Another misconception, या कई बार जो ओवर एंथुजियास्टिक सपोर्टर्स होते हैं आईकेएस के, वो कई बार ये भी कह जाते हैं कि भाई आईकेएस में हमको हमारे सारे प्रॉब्लम्स का सल्यूशंस हमको आईकेएस में मिल सकता है, या हमारे एंशियंट जो गुरुज रहे या ऋषिज रहे, उन्होंने हमारे सारे सवालों का जवाब या सारे हमारी प्रॉब्लम्स का उसमें आंसर्स है। सो दैट इज ऑल्सो अ रॉन्ग नोशन, क्योंकि हमारे जो इंटेलेक्चुअल एंसेस्टर्स थे उन्होंने उस समय पर जो प्रॉब्लम्स थी, उस समय पर जो समस्याएं थी और जो ज्ञान उस समय पर अवेलेबल था, उसके बेसिस पर उन्होंने आंसर्स दिए। बट ये कहना कि सारे क्वेश्चंस के आंसर्स उनके पास थे, ये भी कुछ ज्यादा ओवर एग्जैजरेशन की बात यहाँ पर हो जाती है। Then another sometimes critics also observe that IKS it is only written by men, so that is also not wrong notion, because बहुत सारे ऐसे ancient texts आपको मिलेंगे जहां पर learned ladies या women scholars का भी जहां पर contribution रहा है। जस्ट फॉर एग्जाम्पल आप देखें कि जो ऋग्वेद के जो हिम्स थे, दे हैव बीन कंपाइल्ड बाय मेनी ऋषिज। एंड इसमें कुछ जो ऋषिकास थे, यानी कि जो फीमेल ऋषिज थे, अराउंड 17 ऋषिकास हैव आल्सो कंट्रीब्यूटेड इनटू इट। और भी ऐसे बहुत सारे स्कॉलर्स हैं, वेदर यू टॉक अबाउट लोपमुद्रा, काद्रू, विश्ववरा, घोष, जुहू, वागाम्बरी, पौलमी, जरिता, देन इंद्रानी, देवयानी, है ना, ऐसे बहुत सारे स्कॉलर्स हैं जिनका हमको मेंशन आपको मिलता है। और इवन आप देखें कि स्पेसिफिकली सामवेद के कंपाइलेशन में भी विमेन स्कॉलर्स का वहां पर मेंशन वहां पर मिलता है। सो वी कैन सी दैट देयर वाज a representation of also the women scholars in the ancient text. And sometimes some critics also say that IKS is just basically driven by blind beliefs and dogmas which are rooted in a religious context. So that is also a wrong notion, because in our system there was always a healthy tradition of arguing and counter arguing, कि आप जो भी कंटेक्स्ट होते थे, जो भी बातें आती थी, उसके ऊपर एक हेल्दी ट्रेडिशन था जो कि वाद विवाद के थ्रू सत्य तक पहुंचने की एक परंपरा रही है, और ये एक हेल्दी प्रैक्टिस थी और बहुत ही रैशनल और ऑब्जेक्टिव तरीके से इसको फॉलो किया जाता था। तो ये कहना कि सिर्फ एक ब्लाइंड बिलीव्स है, दैट इज ऑल्सो अ रॉन्ग नोशन. And to say that IKS is irrelevant or useless, that is also a misconception, because it ultimately depends कि हम यूज से हमारा तात्पर्य क्या है. क्योंकि नो डाउट बहुत सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स इवॉल्व हुए हैं, हमारे पास आज नए नए टूल्स अवेलेबल हैं, लेकिन जो एटीट्यूड है, जो मेथोडोलॉजी हम यूज करते आ रहे हैं, दे आर स्टिल दे आर रेलेवेंट. तो अगर हम देखें कि आईकेएस को हमको क्यों हायर एजुकेशन में इसको इंक्लूड करना है या इसको क्यों इंटीग्रेट करना है, पहला तो ये है कि वी हैव टू इंस्टिल दैट वैल्यू ऑफ प्राइड इन द कल्चरल हेरिटेज अमंग द स्टूडेंट्स. कि स्टूडेंट्स को ये बात को रियलाइज करना जरूरी है कि हमारे सिस्टम में ऐसी क्या नॉलेज सिस्टम्स रही हैं जिनका कंट्रीब्यूशन क्या रहा है, और शायद जिसको कि आज भी हम रेलेवेंट पाते हैं, और उनको स्टडी करना, उनको वैलिडेट करना, उनको साइंटिफिकली एस्टैब्लिश करना, उनके ऊपर रिसर्च करना, और ये देखना कि वो किस तरह से आज के हमारे मॉडर्न डे प्रॉब्लम्स को सॉल्व करने के लिए यूजफुल होंगे. इसके लिए भी जरूरी है कि स्टूडेंट्स को उसके प्रति सेंसिटाइज जरूर करना है. Then it is also useful for a holistic pedagogy also, क्योंकि स्टूडेंट को हमको एक ओवरऑल, जब एक डेवलपमेंट की बात करते हैं, स्टूडेंट की एक कोई भी प्रॉब्लम अगर वो देखते हैं, तो उसको मल्टीपल डायमेंशन से जो देखने का नजरिया है वो डेवलप करने की जो जरूरत है, वो भी कहीं ना कहीं आईकेएस के थ्रू हम कर सकते हैं. Then it is also a very valuable tool for value based education. ऐसे बहुत सारे टेक्स्ट हैं जहां पर आप जो हम वैल्यूज की हम बात करते हैं कि मेनी टाइम्स दिस कंसर्न इज रेज कि आज के जो हमारे स्टूडेंट्स हैं, दे आर रिच इन नॉलेज, बट दे हैव वेरी लो, यू कैन से, वैल्यू बेस्ड सिस्टम. तो ऐसे बहुत सारे हमारे टेक्स्ट हैं जहाँ पे ऐसे बहुत सारे स्टोरीज हैं, वेदर वी टॉक अबाउट दी पंचतंत्र या हितोपदेशाय, जहां पर हर छोटी छोटी स्टोरीज के पीछे एक बहुत बड़ा मॉरल छुपा होता है. कहीं ना कहीं दिस कैन ऑल्सो बी यूज्ड एज अ टूल फॉर वैल्यू बेस्ड एजुकेशन. एंड इट ऑल्सो, यू कैन से, हेल्प्स अस टू कनेक्ट टू द लोकल कल्चर. जब हम लोकल कम्युनिटीज की बात करते हैं, जो हमारे ट्राइबल पॉपुलेशन है, उनके जो कल्चर्स हैं, उनके जो प्रैक्टिसेस हैं, जब हम उनको स्टडी करते हैं, तो कहीं ना कहीं हम हमारे स्टूडेंट उस पर्टिकुलर रीजन के कल्चर से भी वो एक कनेक्टेडनेस बना पाते हैं. और जो ऐसे स्टूडेंट्स जो ऐसे कम्युनिटी से आ रहे हैं, कहीं ना कहीं वो भी एक अपने आप को लिंक करना उनके लिए हायर एजुकेशन से आसान हो जाता है. और इट ऑल्सो ऑफर्स न्यूरो साइंटिफिक बेनिफिट्स, चाहे वो मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज की बात हो, मेडिटेशन हो, योगा के डिफरेंट पोस्चर्स हैं, या जो मेडिटेशंस के टेक्निक्स हैं, ऑल दिस हैज प्रूवन टू हैव अ नंबर ऑफ न्यूरो साइंटिफिक बेनिफिट्स ऑल्सो. तो जो हमारा इंडिजिनियस नॉलेज सिस्टम्स रहा है, वो कई कारणों से वो इरोड होता गया ड्यूरिंग द लास्ट फ्यू इयर्स. पहली बात जो आई कि वो हम खुद अनअवेयर है, हम खुद नहीं जानते कि हमारा नॉलेज सिस्टम क्या रहा, हमारे क्या कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस रहे. जैसा कि नीम, और मैंने बताया आपको टर्मरिक के पेटेंट के बाद बात आई थी. इसी तरह से जैसे जैसे पॉपुलेशंस माइग्रेट हो रहे हैं, कि अब विलेजेस से स्मॉलर टाउन्स में, स्मॉलर टाउन से सिटीज में, और सिटीज से जब मेट्रोज में लोग माइग्रेट कर रहे हैं, तो कहीं ना कहीं वो अपना कल्चर, जो प्रैक्टिसेस जो हैं, वो पीछे उनसे छूट जाता है. देन जेंडर इनइक्वालिटी भी कई मायनों में कई जगह पर इंस्ट्रूमेंटल रहा है, क्योंकि कई जो ऐसे ट्रेडिशंस रहे हैं विच आर पास्ड ऑन ओरली फ्रॉम वन ट्रेडिशन टू अनदर, फ्रॉम वन जनरेशन टू अनदर, So it was the practice कि जो father it passed on that information to the son, and if they do not have a son तो कहीं ना कहीं वो फिर किसी और को वो इंफॉर्मेशन पास ऑन नहीं करते, तो वो एक अब्रप्टली वहां पर उसका लॉस होता गया। और जैसे जैसे हम मॉडर्नाइज हो रहे हैं, वी आर अडॉप्टिंग न्यूअर लाइफस्टाइल्स, न्यूअर टेक्नोलॉजीज, हमारी हर चीजें चेंज हो रही हैं, हमारी फूड हैबिट्स चेंज हो रही हैं, द इवन द हमारी जो प्रैक्टिसेस हैं, हमारी डे टू डे जो हम फॉलो करते हैं, इवन यू कैन से द क्लोथ्स दैट वी आर वेयरिंग, द टेक्सटाइल्स दैट वी आर यूजिंग, सो समहाउ वी आर लूजिंग द टच विद इट। और जब हम बात करते हैं कि अगर हम पुराने हमारे जो नॉलेज सिस्टम्स रहा, उसको अगर हमको वैलिडेट करना है, उसके क्लेम्स को हमको अगर रिसर्च करना है, तो उसके लिए भी कई बार अर्लियर, नाउ देर आर मेनी मोर फंड्स आर देर, उसके लिए भी हमको कई बार फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट ऐसे स्टडीज के लिए हमको नहीं मिल पाता था। और कहीं ना कहीं यंगर जनरेशन गैप हैज ऑलवेज बीन देयर, but somehow the younger generation who are more widely exposed to the global cultures, uh, they somehow fail to connect with the ancient practices और जो हमारे knowledge systems के साथ है। और कई जगह पर आप देखेंगे कि कोई हमारा ऐसा डॉक्यूमेंटेशन भी नहीं है कि मेनी प्रैक्टिसेस उसका जो है दे आर ओनली पास्ड ऑन थ्रू ओरल ट्रेडिशंस, और दे आर जस्ट लिविंग प्रैक्टिसेस, उसका कोई डॉक्यूमेंटेशन नहीं होने के कारण भी हम कह सकते हैं दिस नॉलेज हैज बीन इरोडिंग, और उसके बारे में कई बार हम खुलकर चर्चा भी जो है वो नहीं होती है, राइट। सो अगर आगे हम देखें कि व्हाट आर द वेरियस फ्रेमवर्क्स फॉर क्लासिफिकेशन, तो अर्थशास्त्र जो एक एंशिएंट टेक्स्ट रहा है उसमें ये मेंशन किया गया है कि एक उसके श्लोक वर्स में दिया गया है कि अनविक्षिकी त्रायी वार्ता दंड नीतिश्च इति विद्या, यानी कि जो अनविक्षिकी यानी कि जो साइंस ऑफ इंक्वायरी है, त्रयी मतलब वेद, वार्ता यानी कि कॉमर्स या ट्रेड, और दंड नीति दैट इज गवर्नेंस, दीज आर कंसिडर्ड एज द फोर साइंसेस, है ना, ये फोर साइंसेस इसकी तरह इनको क्लासिफाई किया गया है। दूसरा एक और जो क्लासिफिकेशन है दैट इज द चतुर्दशा विद्यास्थाना, दैट इज द 14 ट्रेडिशनल डिसिप्लिन। 14 ट्रेडिशनल डिसिप्लिन में क्या क्या चीजें आई हैं, एक तो पुराना, देन न्याय, मीमांसा, धर्मशास्त्र, देन वेदांगास, 6 वेदांगास, देन 4 वेदास, और ये जो 14 है ना, दैट इज 4 वेदास, 6 वेदांगास, एंड देन धर्मशास्त्र, मीमांसा, न्याय एंड पुराना, दीज 14 these were considered as the चतुर्दशा विद्यास्थान। और इसके बाद लेटर ऑन इसमें 4 और ऐड किए गए, दैट इज आयुर्वेदा, गंधर्व वेदा, अर्थशास्त्र एंड धनुर्वेदा, तो ये फिर अष्टदशा विद्यास्थाना कहलाने लगे। तो ये कुछ जो फ्रेमवर्क है चतुर्दशा विद्यास्थाना के, जहां पे 4 जो वेद हैं बेसिकली ये श्रुति परंपरा से आए हैं, दैट इंक्लूडेड द ऋग्वेदा, सामवेदा, यजुर्वेदा एंड अथर्ववेदा। देन जो 6 वेदांगास हैं, दैट इंक्लूडेड शिक्षा, व्याकरण, छंदास, निरुक्ता, कल्प एंड ज्योतिषा। उसके बाद न्याय है, इसमें लॉजिक एंड एपिस्टेमोलॉजी है। देन मीमांसा इज द हर्मेन्यूटिक्स, देन धर्मशास्त्र दैट इज द सोशल एंड द लीगल कोड्स, दैट इज बोथ फॉर द इंडिविजुअल एंड फॉर द कलेक्टिव। एंड देन पुराणास, इसमें आ जाते हैं कि व्हाट इज द क्रिएशन एंड डिसोल्यूशन ऑफ यूनिवर्स, देन क्रोनोलॉजी ऑफ डिफरेंट मनूज एंड डायनेस्टीज, एंड दिस includes the itihasas, that is the Ramayana and the Mahabharata। और एक और जो क्लासिफिकेशन है दैट इज बेस्ड ऑन द 18 शिल्प, जो 18 आर्ट फॉर्म्स हैं, इसके बेसिस पर भी एक क्लासिफिकेशन किया गया। जैसे जो 18 शिल्प्स हैं इसमें आप देख सकते हैं वोकल म्यूजिक है, इंस्ट्रूमेंटल म्यूजिक, डांसिंग, पेंटिंग, मैथमेटिक्स, अकाउंटेंसी, इंजीनियरिंग, देन स्कल्पचर, एग्रीकल्चर, कैटल ब्रीडिंग, कॉमर्स, मेडिसिन, लॉ, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ट्रेनिंग, archery and military art, magic, and even there was one shilp of snake charming and poison antidotes, and also the art of finding hidden treasures. So these were considered as the 18 shilpas. Then there is also the talk about the 64 kalaएं, that is the 64 forms of art. तो kala actually means the performing arts. तो it was considered कि कोई भी इंडिविजुअल है, अगर उसको एक कंप्लीट या होलिस्टिक एक इंडिविजुअल की जहां बात होती है, so they should have a mastery over these 64 traditional arts. और ये अगर उसने 64 कलाएं अगर सीख ली तो वो एक बहुत अच्छा लाइफ जो है वो गुजार सकता है. तो these 64 arts आप देख सकते हैं, the list is very long, that included गीत विद्या, वाद्य विद्या, नृत्य विद्या. Similarly आप देखेंगे that is the पुस्तका वाचना, that is the art of reciting books. Then your काव्य समस्या पुराना, that is, and तो इस तरह से आपके there are over 64 different forms of art और 64 कलाएं. So this is the different frameworks for which the IKS can be classified. Now what are the various sources of IKS? तो IKS के जो sources हैं, इसको हम दो तरीके से इसको classify कर सकते हैं. One is the literary sources and second one is the non-literary sources. Literary sources में आ जाता है जो major जो literary sources हैं, that is in Sanskrit. Then बहुत सारे नॉन संस्कृत सोर्सेज भी हैं. दिस इंक्लूड्स द बौद्धस, जैना, रीजनल लैंग्वेज सोर्सेज, देन अरबिक एंड पर्शियन सोर्सेज ऑल्सो. इसके अलावा कुछ टेस्टिमोनियल्स या सेकेंडरी सोर्सेज भी हैं कि जो फॉरेन ट्रैवलर्स रहे या जो फॉरेन विजिटर्स रहे, उन्होंने अपने टेक्स्ट अपने राइटिंग में आईकेएस के बारे में जो ऑब्जर्वेशंस हैं, उनके जो एक्सपीरियंसेस शेयर किए हैं, दे कैन आल्सो बी कंसिडर्ड एज द लिटरेरी सोर्स फॉर आईकेएस. इसके बाद आता है दैट इज द नॉन लिटरेरी सोर्सेस. नॉन लिटरेरी सोर्सेस में पहला तो है आपका आर्कियोलॉजिकल सोर्सेस एंड देन द लिविंग प्रैक्टिसेस. नाउ आर्कियोलॉजिकल सोर्सेस की बात जब आती है, यानी कि जो भी हम स्कल्पचर्स हैं, जो मॉन्यूमेंट्स हम देखते हैं, ये जो स्कल्पचर्स या मॉन्यूमेंट्स जो होते हैं, इससे हमको इनडायरेक्टली हमको पता चलता है कि उस समय का आर्टिस्टिक एक्सप्रेशन के बारे में पता चलता है. उस टाइम क्या मटेरियल्स यूज हुए, उन स्ट्रक्चर्स को बनाने के लिए क्या टूल्स यूज किए गए होंगे, इसके बारे में हम को एक इंफॉर्मेशन मिलती है. इसी तरह से जो लिटरेरी और हिस्टोरिकल टेक्स्ट हैं, लिटरेरी और हिस्टोरिकल टेक्स्ट से हमको एक इनडायरेक्टली हमको इंसाइट मिलता है कि व्हाट वेर दी प्रैक्टिसेस इन द एंशिएंट इंडियन सोसाइटी. इसी तरह से जो एक्सकवेटेड साइट्स हैं, है ना, जहां पर आर्कियोलॉजिकल साइट्स होते हैं, वहां पर जो मटेरियल्स मिलते हैं, जो उससे हमको ये एविडेंस मिलता है कि जो हमको मान लीजिए कुछ यूटेंसिल्स मिल रहे हैं, कुछ कुछ औजार मिल रहे होते हैं, कुछ पीसेस ऑफ स्ट्रक्चर्स कुछ मिल रहे हैं. सो इट गिव्स अस एन इंडिकेशन कि इनडायरेक्टली हमको ये पता चलता है कि उस समय पर क्या चीजें फॉलो की जाती थी. देन फोर्थ वन, दैट इज द इंस्क्रिप्शंस एंड द एपिग्राफ्स. जो कि इंस्क्रिप्शन जो कि डायरेक्टली जो शिलालेख होते हैं या जो ताम्रपत्र पर जो चीजें होती हैं, उससे भी हमको हिस्टोरिकल इवेंट्स के बारे में पता चलता है. नाउ कुछ एग्जांपल्स के साथ आई वुड लाइक टू डिस्कस एंड आई थिंक दैट विल मेक द थिंग्स मोर क्लियर टू यू. कैन यू आइडेंटिफाई दिस structure that you can see on the left side of your screen? Yes, anyone? I hope I'm audible.
Yes, madam. You're audible.
Audible. Yes. So can you identify?
No.
This is the temples of Hampi. And the special thing about these temples is the pillars that you see here, these are musical pillars. So that means कि आप it is a wonder कि उस समय पर ऐसी क्या टेक्निक्स थी, बिकॉज हम सभी जानते हैं कि ये पिलर्स को अगर आप हिट करेंगे तो म्यूजिकल नोट्स जनरेट होते हैं। और आज के कंटेक्स्ट में, आज की टर्मिनोलॉजी में अगर हम बात करें, दैट इंडिकेट्स दैट they had a knowledge of sound engineering, of the acoustics, of the designing, because it is not an easy task कि आप इन पिलर्स को हिट करते हैं तो एक म्यूजिकल साउंड्स जो हैं वो जनरेट होते हैं। एंड ये जो स्ट्रक्चर्स हैं, स्टोन के स्ट्रक्चर्स हैं, इनके ऊपर जो कार्विंग्स हैं वो तो हैं ही, लेकिन ये कई कई जो ये पिलर्स हैं ये सिंगल स्टोन से इनको बनाया गया है ना। सो व्हाट हाउ व्हाट इज दी वाइब्रेशंस, कैसे साउंड जनरेट होता था, मतलब दे शुड हैव सम अंडरस्टैंडिंग अबाउट इट, राइट? So this gives us an indication about the methods that they were using at that particular time. Now, what is this on the middle? सेंटर में जो देख रहे हैं, what is that structure? What is this structure? This structure in the middle? That is the remains of the Nalanda University, right? And what is so special about Nalanda University? Yes, participants, please respond.
I think first university.
Yeah, it is one of the you can say oldest universities, and this university this had scholars from around the world, and the remains that can be seen, the huge structures, the halls, the structure, it indicates that there were over 8,000 students were here, 2,000 teachers were here, and most importantly, they came from different parts of the world. So that means that this was the hub of higher education at that time also. And this is the modern day Nalanda University, which has been started few years back. And on the extreme right, what you see is the Takshashila University, remains of the Takshashila University. And this university, what is special about this is, where is it located? Where is Takshashila University in present day geographical location? Tamil Nadu? No, somewhere in north, I should say.
Pakistan.
Yes, it is located in Pakistan, right? But since it was a part of this Indian, you can say, domain, what we are talking about, so that is why it also gives us the indication about the systems that were practiced or that was in used at that particular time. And on your screen, you can see this Mohenjo-daro, right? So what is this special about this Mohenjo-daro? What is it known for? It is known for the very planned cities. है ना? It was very town planning. It is a very good example of town planning. It had very structured city planning. The bricks that are used here for the construction, all these are very uniform size bricks. So that indicates they had some uh, manufacturing unit for construction of the cities. The drainage system was very good. Similarly, this is what you can see on the right is the Rani Ki Vav, which is located in Patan in Gujarat. And similar such structures can also be found in other parts of Gujarat and in Rajasthan. And these step wells were used for the rainwater harvesting because these regions had very less rainfall, and these structures were not only very beautiful architectural structures, beautiful carvings are there, but they are also a good uh, example or how the water conservation units can be designed, right? Similarly, there in many temples, you will see these structures of Panchaloha idols. So these Panchaloha idols, these sculptures, these were prepared with metal alloys, 5 metal alloys. Panch means 5, right? So that alloy was made with gold, silver, copper, tin, and zinc, and sometimes iron was also used. And this beautiful, you can see idols and sculptures, they were made with a technique which was which is known as the lost wax casting method. And this technique is still, it is being used, right? So what was the basis for this technique? This technique, what is done is first you prepare a clay image, and this is then uh, covered with a wax sculpture and wax fine engravings or whatever design is required, that is carved into the wax structure. And then over this wax structure, then uh, clay is put, and this clay is then hardened by heating. It is heated on ovens, and once you heat this, what happens is the clay hardens, but the wax, it melts off. So the once the wax melts off, so that the gap that is created, in this gap, then molten metal is put, and this molten metal, when it cools, then this clay casing is broken away, and you get a beautiful image of the metal. So this is the basic process of lost wax technique, and which is still, it is being this technique is still is used for making of beautiful structures. Can you identify this image? Very beautiful, very famous sculpture. What is it known as? This is known as the dancing girl of Mohenjo-daro, and this it has been dated back to 2500 BC. And this was also made by the same lost wax Dukra casting method in India, which was known to Indus Valley civilization almost 4000 years. Then there is also this archaeological. So one famous is this Delhi Iron Pillar, which is located near Mehrauli, near Qutub Minar. And the peculiar thing about this is that this is a rustless. Although this is composed of iron, but the alloy is such that it has resisted the vagaries of nature in terms of temperature, moisture, rains, and still it has remained rustless. So this is not the only iron structure or the rustless wonder, you can say. Similar iron pillars have also been found in other parts of the country, whether it is in Dhar, in Madhya Pradesh, in Mount Abu, even in Orissa, Bhubaneswar, Konark, and Puri. Such pillars have been found. One another very ancient technique which was used, which was very special to this part of the world, was the wood steel. So the wood steel was prepared by using porous iron, and this was then heated. And while it was hot, this was hammered to release the slag. and then it was broken up, and then it was mixed with wooden chips, and it was sealed in clay containers, and this was heated until the pieces of the iron absorb the carbon from the wood and the melted. So the iron this that was produced by this, or the steel that was produced by this method, it contains a very uniform composition of carbon, that is 1 to 1.6%. And the peculiar property of this iron was that it could be heated and it could be forged into bars. And this was used for preparing many articles. And the famous Damascus swords, they were prepared by this wood's steel. So we can, if you just look back and see how the steel industry has evolved, this has been on the basis of rich, you can say, know-how that we had about this important segment, that is iron and steel. For instance, in 1100 BC, iron from megalithic sites, which has been dated 1100 BC, has been uh, identified from Hallur in Karnataka. And in 326 BC, when King Alexander has invaded, and King Porus at that time has presented 30 pounds of Indian iron to King Alexander. Then there are also many such sites, and even in the Arthashastra, Kautilya has showed the knowledge of minerals and how to extract iron ores and the art of extracting metals. And many such, in 13th century AD, the iron beams which are used in the construction of Sun Temple, Konark, Orissa, that has been dated to such old times. And as in 1870, the Bengal Iron Works was established in Kulti. Then in 1907, Tata Iron and Steel Company was formed. The Howrah Bridge was constructed from over 80,000 tons of viscose steel in 1914. So over the years, you can see that we had built upon that expertise that we had for the iron and steel. So these are one sub just example, and similarly one another very good peculiar technique, that is the downward drift distillation process. So this, you can say, the ancient India was the first and the only civilization to produce zinc by this method. Now the process, why this is very specific process, is because zinc distillation or separation of the zinc is very critical, because zinc, it has a melting point of around 410 degrees centigrade, and it has a boiling point of 930 degrees centigrade. But the problem is that when exposed to open air, zinc oxidizes to zinc oxide at around 550 degree centigrade. So that means that we have to condense the zinc vapor to prevent the reoxidation, right? So this downward distillation process, in these clay containers in the upper pot, this contained the solid charge, and this was sealed with another container attached to the neck of this, and it was heated from above. And once the zinc vaporizes, and this vapors, these were condensed in these containers. So how you will be wondering how we can say that this was the technique which was only available here, because in Rajasthan's Zawar mines region in Rajasthan, uh, there are evidences of this zinc smelting, which has been dated back to over 2180 years. And ancient furnaces have been found, and with 36 retorts, which produced 10 to 15 kgs of zinc per smelt, and over 130,000 tons of residues are still remaining in Zawar. So this indicates that over 1 million tons of zinc was extracted from this region. So, no doubt we can say that it was a metallurgical marvel of ancient India. Then there are also many living practices also. This was all about the your archaeologicals. There are many in different regions of the country. You will see that there are different living practices. For example, in the Rajasthan, these are these Kalbelia folk songs and dances. In Jharkhand and West Bengal, this is this Chau dance, which are based on the tales of Mahabharata and tribals, which are performed by the tribal population. Even in Maharashtra, there are many such living practices. Two practices I would like to share here. One is that Pavda, which is the Marathi poetry of valor. Then Dashavatara, that is also one the folk theatre form of Maharashtra. And then there is also this technique which was also very peculiar to this region, which is located in the UP, Kannauj. And it is famous for making attars, that is the scents, you can say. And one very peculiar scent that is only produced in this region, that is the mitti ka attar. Mitti ka attar, that is the fragrance that you get during the rains, right? The petrichor, what is referred to that. And still now, this attar, this is produced by the same technique which has been used since centuries, right? And no modern machineries are used. So this also uses this same downward drift process that was used for the zinc distillation also. So this is also then many more living practices are there in, for instance, in parts of Kerala. These are one traditional dance forms are there, which are prevalent not only in the Hindus but also in Christians and also in the Muslims of the region. For example, in Oppana, this is one traditional wedding dance which is produced by Muslim women. And if you see this dance form, this resembles the Kai Kottikali, which is practiced by the women, Hindu practices, but it has also resemblance to the dance and ritual which is prevalent in the Arabian countries. So you can say this is a beautiful amalgamation of the cultures from the Arabian and the Indian. So, and this is a traditional dance forms that is practiced. Similarly, there is this Margam Kali, which is a ritual folk dance of the Syrian Christian community. So these are all parts of the living traditions of the state. Then there are also many martial art form also. One example is the Kalaripaita, which is a traditional Indian martial art and which is said to be originated in modern day Kerala. And it is also, you can say, many practices are apart from the martial art form. It also involves the other practices like how the application of the medicinal oil over the body before the exercise regimen actually starts. So all this is part of the traditional Kalaripaita training. So there are also many literary sources as well because many travelers have traveled at that particular time. For instance, one of the Chinese travelers, Ait Singh, who traveled to India at that particular time and he learnt Sanskrit and he has observed that India is the celestial storehouse of knowledge. And even Al-Andalusi in the categories of nation in 11th century, he has also observed that the first nation to have cultivated sciences is India. And over many centuries, all the kings of the past have recognized the ability of the Indians in the branches of knowledge. So many such testimonials can be found regarding the wood steel also, where Sir Joseph Banks, who was the president of the British Royal Society, he also observed that the wood steel that is produced in India, that is the best, and it can be used for making fine cutlery and also for making edge instruments, which are useful for surgical purposes. So many such anecdotes or such testimonials can also be sourced. And there are almost 3 crore estimated manuscripts are available, and maximum texts, no doubt, are available in Sanskrit, but you will see that it is available in other regional languages as well, whether we talk about Tamil, Gujarati, Persian, Kannada, Malayalam, Urdu, Telugu, Marathi, even Tibetan, Arabic, Sinhalese, all these languages, we can find the IKS, right? Then many Marathi texts are also there. And as you are aware that in October 24, Marathi has been given the status of classical language. So that certainly honors the extensive literary contributions of Marathi, but also highlights the historical and cultural importance. There are many Marathi literature also, for example, Gatha Saptasati, which is approximately 2000 years old. Then Leela Charitra and Gyaneshwari, this also emerged after Marathi reached a mature linguistic stage about 8 centuries. So there are many other literary sources, and also the Ministry of Education, as one of the participants has also uh, mentioned during the earlier interaction, that this IKS division of the Ministry of Education, this has been established, and this is also working on, and you can always visit the site of IKS division. There are many resources that you can find, and you can also find the information regarding the funding also, because through the IKS division, they are sponsoring research projects. They are also providing the funds to the institutes for starting the Center for IKS in the various universities, right? So with this, I would like to end, and in the summary or to conclude, we can say that IKS or Indian Knowledge Traditions, as some observe, it is a label to a vast repository of knowledge. It is not a single discipline or a subject. And this repository, you will see, it is distributed over many sciences, over very physical as well as linguistic landscapes. And it is very important that we integrate the aspects which are relevant to our discipline into our curriculum so as to sensitize the students. And IKS, it still has both the practical applications, because ultimately, until we stand on the shoulders of the giants, we cannot look far ahead. And I think it is with this objective, the NEP envisions an education system which is rooted in Indian ethos. And certainly, again, when we have apprehensions like why should IKS be included in our curriculum, I think this quote from Baba Dioum, who was a Senegalese forest engineer, who very rightly observed that in the end, we will conserve only what we love. We will love only what we understand, and we will understand what we are taught. So it is very important that we teach our students, we expose our students to the different dimensions of IKS, because unless and until they are exposed to it, they will not understand it, they will not develop an affinity towards it, and they will not work towards conserving that knowledge. So with this, I would like to end the session. And if there are any queries or questions or any observations, I will be very happy to take those.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Participants, the forum is open for discussion, queries, or the questions, or some kind of observation. If you have, we have implemented the IKS in our college, in our institution. So you can please mention here. Please, anyone. It will be really appreciable. Yes, anyone?
Yeah, faculty, you have any question, please ask.
Everything the documents have. Participants, if there are no questions, then we can conclude. You can, anyone can confirm. If you have any questions or the queries, you can ask. Either we can conclude this session and move for another session. Please, anyone can confirm.
Sir, I will ask them to write and then we can send to ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we will take the consent from our expert. If ma'am will ready, and then we can take that question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, definitely, ma'am. So I think we have one kind of assignments. After that, we are getting the summaries from the participants. And lastly, I would like to say I will share that summary as well as if some questions or the observations is there, I will definitely share with you, ma'am. So can we conclude, ma'am, if you could permit?
Yeah, sure, we can.
On behalf
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your session.
Yeah, thank you so much.
On behalf of Malvi Mission Teacher Training Center, Sant Garge Baba Amravati University and Marathwada Mitra Mandal College of Engineering, Karvenagar, Pune, I extend my sincere thanks to Professor Preeti ma'am for such a wonderful and insightful inputs towards this integration of IKS in our curriculum. Definitely, ma'am, your inputs will be very valuable while we are drafting our curricula and drafting particularly the domain specific courses and the research domain in this field, because the different fields are there. And recently UGC has released, I mean, the IKS division has released one volume with regards to this IKS, and we have already shared with our participants, and we have already already requested them. And your inputs that you have provided during this session, that will be very beneficial for us for our futuristic perspective. So with this, I once again extend my sincere thanks to you for your precious time and thought-provoking session here. And with the kind consent of Professor Suresh ma'am, I would like to declare that this particular session will be over here. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. Participants, please stay be connected. We will continue for our next session. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and wishing you all the best, all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hello, Professor Faiza ma'am. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. How is everyone out there?
Shall we start, ma'am, if you permit?
Yes, please. There was an issue with the Zoom link actually. It was not coming on my desktop. So I'm sorry I took like 3-4 minutes in joining.
So, good afternoon, one and all. I have already told you that the today's session we have split it into the two different parts. And first part, that is the important, very much important verticals of this policy. That is the IKS we have almost completed. Now we are moving towards the another and the very much important aspect as well as the vertical of this national education policy. That is the gist of this policy. That is multidisciplinary education. We have launched this program in collaboration with one of our leading institution situated in the Maharashtra, Pune, Marathwada Mitra Mandal College of Engineering, Karvenagar, Pune. And we have at most 100 faculties, and Dr. Girija ma'am is a coordinator, faculty coordinator from this institution. So, friends, we will start for the next session and to discuss this concept. That is the very much important concept, holistic and multidisciplinary education in the NEP. We have with us Professor Faiza Abbasi ma'am. Ma'am, I first of all, extend my warm welcome to you before starting the session. Friends, Professor Faiza Abbasi ma'am is a professor and the director of this Malvi Mission Teacher Training Center at Aligarh Muslim University situated in the Uttar Pradesh. This center is under the Ministry of Education, Government of India. She is basically belongs to the Faculty of Life Sciences with the subject Wildlife Sciences. She has more than 2 decades of experience in this field of higher education. Being the director of this Malvi Mission Teacher Training Center, she is continuously and instrumentally engaged in the teacher training and conducted n number of training as well as train across across the faculty of the India through the faculty induction program, refresher courses, faculty development, and short-term programs. And this is specifically designed, that is the NEP orientation and sensitization program. She is associated with the different professional bodies as well as the professional as well as the academic bodies. She has visited, she is completed the Ohio State University certification in the leadership as well as leadership, higher education leadership certification from the Ohio State University, USA, Monash University, Australia, and IIM Udaipur. She has also completed the ODL courses from the Harvard and the EDX. She has continuously engaged in the research in this field of wildlife sciences and author of the 16 different books and the numerous research paper. She is continuously writing for the newspaper column also. She is the reviewer of the several reputed academic journals. For Swam platform and YouTube video lecture have granted thousands of views, and she is also the speaker of the All India Radio at the Jashn-e Raska. She is recipient of the couple of meritorious awards that includes the Nishan-e-Urdu, UP Governor's Medal, and then the RBTC's 100 Inspiring Muslim Women of the Uttar Pradesh Honor and the Indian Forest Best Paper Award. So friends, this is a brief introduction with regards to Professor Faiza Abbasi ma'am. Rather than this only, ma'am has visited the several institutions in the abroad also, and she is also continuously engaging the societal benefit through the different mode. So with this, I once again extend my warm welcome to you, ma'am, and request you to please start with your session. Ma'am, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And my dear friends, I hope you can see the screen. My screen is being shared. Holistic and
ma'am.
multidisciplinary education. Thank you, Dr. Girija, for confirming that. And as has been said, this is a very vital vertical of the new education policy. And this is also the gist of the new education policy. So in the coming 1 hour or so, we will be discussing what is holistic, multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary education, etc. And we will also be trying to draw some endorsements from very well researched academics and based on experiences. We will try to draw pani chai. And we will put that together here on the floor. And we'll try. हो गया ना सर? हाँ, तुमने करा एक just a minute. So first and foremost, I will begin with sharing some very hard facts, principles, some theories, which will lay the background for us to build our narrative in favor of holistic and multidisciplinary education. Now, friends, we are all in the higher education sector. We are all part of this sector as teachers, as researchers. Some of you would also be bearing some responsibilities as a coordinator, maybe as HOD, as exam superintendent. Therefore, all these administrative responsibilities. And from now onwards, we are also required to discharge some responsibilities as community service providers, volunteer service, as outreach workers, taking the benefits of our work to the have-nots of the society. Therefore, I would like to first remind ourselves about our basic nature of work, and that is the management of knowledge, the service of knowledge, and also the creation of knowledge. So here, when we are talking about the creation of knowledge, we find that it is our job to create new knowledge, but new knowledge exists at the intersection of two disciplines. New knowledge exists at the intersection of two disciplines. Either there has to be an overlap or there has to be an intersection where two disciplines come together and there is emergence of new knowledge. So all the disciplinary research work that we have been doing all this while is not worth the basic task of creating new knowledge. And also, if research and teaching happens to be an act towards producing some solutions for a problem that has marred the society, then we have to be reminded that any problem that is approached with more than two disciplines has a practical solution, otherwise not. So if we have to find a solution to a problem, we have to take an approach of several disciplines. We have to take an approach of several disciplines. A problem approached with one discipline in a unidisciplinary manner is a problem that is not destined to be solved. So if we are looking at problems with the solution in the mind, then we must then we must approach these problems with more than 2 disciplines. So in the light of these 2 facts, we will try to see how the 21st century belongs to multidisciplinarity, how the 21st century belongs to people who are multidisciplinary. Now, a very recent worldwide phenomenon is this young man by the name Zohran Kwame Mamdani, who's presently the mayor-elect of New York City, the richest city in the world, the city that makes no difference. It is said it's the city that never sleeps. It's the world capital because people from different nationalities, ethnic backgrounds, they all find a home in New York. Everybody belongs to New York. It is said that if you go there, in 5 minutes, you belong to New York as much as you belong to New York in 50 years. For a city like that, there is this person who's a mayor, who's going to be the mayor-elect, and this is a person of diverse talents. And such a person is called polymath. Just like somebody who knows several languages is called a polyglot. Somebody who knows, who has mastered several disciplines and the art of interdisciplinarity, he is known as a polymath. So the present day modern time and age belongs to the polymath. He is an exemplary polymath character for many fields because his work reflects a truly multidisciplinary approach. And he is very versatile, and that is why this versatility in Zohran Mamdani that we find, it promotes a holistic academic engagement. The versatility of Zohran Mamdani promotes a holistic academic engagement. So this young boy who's taken over the city of New York and made history, he's a living polymath's dream, and he is a proof that you can do it all and you can mean it all. You know, in this post-modern, post-truth era, many of our earlier maxims are up for a change, are up for a revival. There was a time when we believed that slow and steady wins the race. But today it is said that if there is a race between the turtle and the hare and the tortoise, in this postmodern, post-truth era, the tortoise will lose. The turtle will win if that race takes place today. So there used to be a saying, jack of all, master of none, and something like that, but it's up for a change, and phenomenally successful people like Zohran, you were seeing his, I don't know what's covering my screen. So you're seeing his picture here, that delightful smile of his, and it's happened because he is a polymath. So in a world that tells us to specialize, Mamdani's showing that fluidity is the revolution. He has been in poetry, he was a rap artist, and now he's in policy. He was in films, and his mother is one of the best filmmakers of the world, and now he's in housing justice. He's a living proof that creativity isn't separate change making. It's the engine behind. And the idea of the polymath, earlier it used to live in history books, but it's surfacing in a generation that connects disciplines instead of staying in one lane. A generation that sees overlap as a strength and treats knowledge not as a territory to defend, but as a terrain to explore. So Zohran's story reminds us that the polymath's real test isn't knowledge, it's selfhood. And to thrive is to have the audacity to be all of who you are, everywhere you are, because doing it all isn't the goal. Doing it with purpose is the goal. So, with that inspiration from the public life and the present day politics, we will now take some inspiration, some guidance for how to approach interdisciplinarity and actually why to approach interdisciplinarity from the hardcore field of academics. The fact of the matter is that today the political economy of higher education has changed in the neoliberal context. I just said we are living in the postmodern, post-truth, neoliberal world. This is the new normal. We have seen massive, massive changes, and we are destined to see massive, massive changes from liberal to neoliberal, from modern to postmodern, from truth to post-truth. This political economy, please pay attention to the word economy, political economy. This political economy is changing the work environment. It's changing the terms and conditions for a higher education practitioner. We are facing a new kind of public funds allocation crisis. We are facing a new kind of utilization of funds crisis. And we are facing problems with relevance of a teacher in the face of artificial intelligence and robotics. And it has also been found that because our main aim is to produce new knowledge by innovation, we have lagged behind in the field of innovation as compared to the Silicon Valley. And when I'm saying Silicon Valley, I always say this, that I don't mean to say the geographical location in Sao Paulo. I mean to say that world of ICT-based breakthrough changes that are coming. And I'm using it as a metaphor. I'm using it as a symbol, the Silicon Valley. So wherever ICT-based changes are coming in such a manner that the world is changing because of them, we find that higher education institutions and academia is seriously lagging behind in innovation, and Silicon Valley has taken the lead. 80% of the world-changing innovation is taking place either in the Silicon Valley or in the biotech companies. And all other academic innovation, etc., that we are doing is just 20%. That has happened because so far we have existed in the disciplinary structures. And disciplinary structures in universities have always tended to impede intellectual innovation and obscure public access to knowledge. Disciplinary structures in universities tend to impede intellectual innovation and obscure public access to knowledge. That is why Steve Fuller, in his seminal book, The Academic Caesar, he says that disciplines are necessary evils. The more necessary, the more evil. Therefore, not that we do not need disciplines, we do. But we need to spare ourselves the evils of disciplines. Disciplines are necessary evils. The more necessary, the more evil. Let us now try to explore that when we come out of the disciplinary structures, what all is waiting for us. With minute differences, we can go ahead stepwise in coming out of the disciplinary structures, in collapsing the boundaries of disciplines. So first and foremost, there is intradisciplinary, then there is cross-disciplinary, then multidisciplinary, then interdisciplinary, and then transdisciplinary. Okay. Now, I want to ask my dear participants if some of you have any idea as to what is interdisciplinary, what is intradisciplinary, what is multidisciplinary, what is cross-disciplinary, and what is transdisciplinary. Can somebody tell me any idea? Anyone? Participants? Would you like to please throw some light? The minute differences between these 5 steps of coming out of disciplinarity. Yes? Any answers, please?
Hello.
Yes. Dr. Jitendra, please.
I think multidisciplinary means what? We are going to consider multiple domain, means department.
Yes.
And in the interdisciplinary, in same department or same domain, we are going to take the subdomain.
Okay. You're right. And what about transdisciplinary, cross-disciplinary?
I don't know, madam, regarding.
All right. Thank you so much for making that attempt, Dr. Jitendra. I value your addition to this discussion. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Anyone else? Anybody?
Ma'am, cross-disciplinary may be considered as a different department which having similar interests like that.
Yes, Dr. Rajan, yes, you're right. What about transdisciplinary? Anybody? Transdisciplinary. Anyone?
Ma'am, we are from engineering background. So
Yeah.
transdisciplinary may be arts, science, if we include, can we consider that as a transdisciplinary?
Why not? All right, now let me take you to the next slide and then we will see what are these minute differences, because these are really minute differences. Really minute differences. Just give me a minute, I'll sign up. Okay, I'm sorry, there was this important paper I had to sign. So now you are seeing this picture of these 5 concepts, how we need to integrate this in our teaching, learning, and our research. With the help of these diagrams, we will try to understand what is disciplinary, intradisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and transdisciplinary. And I will try to explain that with some examples also. So first and foremost, as you also said, Chavan sir and others, as you said, it's correct. When you remain within the boundaries of your own discipline, say, for example, you are all from an engineering college. Engineering is your discipline. Normally, you would have gone to college for your UG or for your master's degree in your discipline. That is discipline. But then you have to leave it just there, because further on, when you move to specialization, you pick up a stream that is a part of your discipline, a highly specialized area within your discipline. So maybe if you are a mechanical engineer, fluid mechanics is your intradisciplinary area. But that will give you a tunnel vision. Now, if you want to do further research, you cannot continue to focus only on fluid mechanics, because it will then reduce your diversity, and diversity is a strength. Diversity is a strength, right? So from disciplinary to intradisciplinary, we start making inroads into research by first becoming cross-disciplinary, then becoming interdisciplinary, then becoming multidisciplinary, and then becoming transdisciplinary, and only then we find a complete solution to any problem of the society. So from intradisciplinary, where you have specialized in a stream that is a part of your discipline, you come to cross-disciplinary, which is what? You look at a different discipline from the perspective of your own discipline. Say, for example, as an engineer, maybe if you're trying to research on, let's say, a good sound system, you will also try to study some acoustics in music. Okay, so that will be kind of a merger of technology and the arts. So which is what it is, which is what it is to look at your discipline from the perspective of other discipline, or look at another discipline from the perspective of your own discipline. I'm sorry, dear participants, I was just a little visitor. So, when we try to look at another discipline from the perspective of our own discipline, then that is cross-disciplinary. From there, we move on to interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and transdisciplinary. Now, there is a slight difference between the three. Very minute and slight, but important difference. In case of interdisciplinary, as you can see here in the Venn diagram, the three disciplines are coming together, not fully, not wholly, but partially. So some part of the three disciplines, it merges. And there is some overlapping area which has the contribution of all the three disciplines. That means these areas have integrated. There has been a new synthesis of knowledge, and methods and approaches from different disciplines have merged. Therefore, a new discipline has emerged. Okay. Say, for example, some part of chemistry and some part of biology, they merge and we get a new discipline called biotechnology. Some part of nanosciences and some part of technology merges and we get a new discipline called nanotechnology. So when there is integration of disciplines and when there is emergence of a new discipline, then it is interdisciplinary. That is interdisciplinary, right? New discipline has to emerge. Integration of two disciplines has to take place, not wholly, but only partially. Not fully, but only partially. Integration of disciplines. Then comes multidisciplinary. Again, there is involvement of several disciplines in case of multidisciplinary, but there is no integration, as you can see. There is no overlap, as you can see. And there is no emergence of a new discipline. It's just that from their own separate disciplinary perspectives, the disciplines collaborate,
Okay.
So disciplines are collaborating from their separate disciplinary perspectives and they contribute towards a common goal. I will give you a beautiful example of multidisciplinarity later in this session. We will talk about an incident that happened to prove that multidisciplinarity helps in the production of new knowledge, and multidisciplinarity is important for the solution of some real life ground level grassroots problem. And finally, transdisciplinary. You don't need to get out of your discipline for transdisciplinary. You need to get out of the entire disciplinary structure. You need to get out of academics. You need to get out of the university system. Collaborate with either the industry or the civil society, or in specialized cases, army, bureaucracy, public leaders. When you do that, go out of the disciplinary system. When you stop being just a disciplinarian and you try to solve the problem with the help of practitioners, you are giving what your discipline brings. and you are looking at how your discipline can be applied from the practitioner's point of view, that becomes transdisciplinary. That becomes transdisciplinary. So this is what disciplinary, intradisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and transdisciplinary means. Slight, minute differences, but very distinct approaches from each other. You've done your master's, you've gone to college in a discipline. You've done your specialized research in an intradisciplinary area. Then you start looking at problems and how, with the help of problems, you can solve disciplines. You do that by looking at another discipline from the perspective of your discipline. That is cross-disciplinary. By looking at the merger, the integration, the intersection of several disciplines and emergence of a new discipline. That is interdisciplinary. By collaborating with other disciplines, bringing on the table something from your discipline and working with other disciplines by seeing what they have brought on the table from their discipline. That's multidisciplinary. And finally, transdisciplinary is when you come out of the disciplinary structures. When you interact and collaborate, you kind of become an activist. And then transdisciplinary actually solves problems, right? Now, friends, the national education policy, for the first time in a very revolutionary manner, pays a lot of emphasis on the multidisciplinarity, on holistic education, and building multidisciplinarity and holistic education in the curriculum, making a part of the curriculum. The policy wants that the whole person should be developed. An engineer should not just be an engineer. An engineer should be a genuine citizen of the society. Development of the whole person should include their intellectual, aesthetic, social, physical, emotional, interpersonal, humanistic, and moral capacities. So, this is something nobody will disagree with. If you ask whether education should focus on inclusive development of the whole person, including intellectual, aesthetic, social, physical, emotional, interpersonal, humanistic, and moral capacities, no one will say no, everyone will say yes. But how to do it? So far, we have not been doing it. Now, with the guidelines and under the vision of the NEP, we know we can do it by the curriculum that integrates different subjects and disciplines, promotes practical learning, and emphasizes value-based education. It's the curriculum that will make the difference. Okay? It will, for the first time in the history of education of our country, be made a part of the curriculum. So far, it was not. So far, it was mainstream, liberal, free, democratic education. And the education system focused on making the person just an engineer, just a doctor, just a social scientist, just a life scientist, only a botanist, only a zoologist, only an economist. However, with the help of the curriculum, now we are looking at opportunities of developing the whole person, which includes intellectual, social, aesthetic, physical, emotional, interpersonal, humanistic, and moral capacities. So, friends, for that, in this course, we have brought forward these 3 sub-themes. Okay? Look at your syllabus. Look at what it says. In the first sub-theme, you need to learn about the concept of holistic education, how it is enshrined in Bhagavad Gita and other scripts. What is India-centric holistic living? How do we achieve holistic development of the individual by an integrated development of the body, mind, intellect, and soul? Importance of physical and mental health, and concept of Guru Shishya Parampara, as we have seen in the Gurukul approaches of teaching learning. As part of this concept of holistic education, the traditions of holistic learning in educational institutions like Takshashila, Nalanda, Vikramshila, etc., where there used to be a teacher-pupil rapport, where there was focus on not just knowledge sharing and skill and technique sharing, but also on man-making and character building, which gave our country great thinkers like Vivekananda, Sri Aurobindo, Rabindranath Tagore, and Madan Mohan Malviya. I'm talking to you here from Aligarh. I would like to add Sir Syed Ahmed Khan. I'm talking to a group of teachers from Pune in Maharashtra. I must add Savitribai Phule, because of whom today we have the women education movement in all classes and castes of our society, and after whom one of the greatest universities of our country, the Pune University, Savitribai Phule Pune University, is named. So this is enshrined in our tradition, our culture, in our Indian knowledge system. We need to take that as part of the curriculum. Then we will understand what is multidisciplinary education and how we should make it a part of the curriculum. What is this concept? How we try to develop as a graduate attribute, not just subject knowledge expert, but also critical thinking at multi, cross, and interdisciplinary interfaces. Now you will not have any difficulty in trying to decipher what is the distinct definition of cross-disciplinary, multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and transdisciplinary. So the NEP envisions an integration of this kind of knowledge through the curriculum. And how we will do it through the curriculum? We will have flexible and innovative curriculum. If NEP means anything to the student, then it means flexibility, choice, and freedom. If it means anything to the academic leader, then it means autonomy, accountability, and self-governance. If it means anything to the teacher, it means making education India-centric. It means making education outcome-based and centered around skill development, reducing the industry-academia divide, being more innovative, and it means digitization and computerization. So for the student, a flexible and innovative curriculum would be dual degree, would be academic bank of credit, would be multiple exit, multiple entry, would be credit-based courses and projects from various disciplines, would be creating teacher education universities. And finally, the last sub-theme is about human values, ethics, personality development, and environmental education. What human values and ethics? The human values and ethics that are central to the East, that are central to India, that are characteristic to this land and this soil. You know Mark Twain? All of you know Mark Twain? Anybody knows? The great American writer, Mark Twain. He's also known as the father of American literature and American writing. You know what he said? He said, in religions, all other countries are paupers. India is the only millionaire. There are 2 million gods, and the Indian people worship them all. In India, the land of hundreds of nations and languages, the elephant is worshipped, the serpent is worshipped. He wrote it in one of his books called Following the Equator. So with such a millionaire country, where the moral compass has been developed over ages and ages of finance, we take our values from our Indian knowledge systems, which happen to be Purushartha, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, truth, commitment, honesty, and integrity, forgiveness and love, emotions, empathy, and the ability to sacrifice. Life skills, rational thought, courage and resilience, simplicity, tolerance, care, unity, inclusiveness, the concept of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. The whole world is one family. Social values, duties and responsibilities, peace and non-violence, scientific temper, and qualities of a good citizen. With these values and ethics, we develop a holistic personality, which has ethics, character, and conduct. We develop morality, instinct and conscience, moral standards, absolute and relative ethics, nationality, patriotism, love to motherland and mother languages, self-analysis, out-of-box thinking, attitude, motivation, goal setting, short-term and long-term goal setting, time management, etc. Now, realizing that a healthy body, mind, and soul with good aesthetics can only exist in a healthy environment. NEP has also included environmental consciousness as one of the values for universal standards of humans. Because a lot that happens to the environment depends on our behavior. And 100% how we behave with the environment depends on our ethics and morals. So, what is environment and ecological balance, and how all living and non-living beings are interconnected? We've just seen Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, interconnected with each other, just like a family is interconnected with each other. Interdependence of all beings, living and non-living. Respect for nature. Environmental conservation and enrichment. Aesthetic sense. And one of the biggest reality of today, climate change, pollution, waste management, sanitation, biodiversity conservation, biological resource and biodiversity management, forest and wildlife conservation, and sustainable development and living happen to be such areas wherein we need to develop the thought of the students towards holistic and multidisciplinary education. Now let us try to look at the history and background of holistic education. We are introducing it in our country in the present times. We are trying to achieve it through integrating it with the curriculum. However, as an eclectic and inclusive movement, holistic education has been existing since 1980s. The world over, I'm talking to you about the global scenario. So coming from the global scenario, holistic education emerged in the 1980s as a response to the then dominant worldview of mainstream education. What was this mainstream education? This was supposed to be free, liberal, democratic, no inclusion of values. In response to that, the holistic education movement started to set rolling. Because it is an educational paradigm that integrates the idealistic ideas of humanistic education with spiritual and philosophical ideas. It incorporates principles of spirituality, wholeness, and interconnectedness, along with principles of freedom, autonomy, and democracy. So holistic education theorists, they assume that an integration of what most progressive and democratic movements in education have proposed should be kept separate, namely spirituality and humanistic ideas. But now we are doing it. There are people who believe that this should be kept separate, and we have also so far kept it separate. But now is the time when we are doing it. Because the question is that philosophically, of course, there can be combine into an ideal of education, but can they be jointly applied in an approach to education? Can we take that shift from mainstream education? Can we take that shift? My answer is, let's try. There's always a chance that when we take the road not taken, it'll make some difference. And this inspiration comes from this wonderful poet called Robert Frost, coming from his highly inspiring poem, The Road Not Taken. Highly inspiring. So Robert Frost is, again, he's the same poet who was quoted very popularly, notably once, by Pandit Nehru. Robert Frost had written another poem, which is very popular by now. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have miles to go and promises to keep before I sleep. I think I messed up with the sequence of these lines, but I have miles to go before I sleep. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. That's what he said in this iconic poem. And look at what he's saying in this, again, very iconic poem. He says, two roads diverged in a yellow wood. And sorry, I could not travel both. Nobody can travel both and be one traveler. So long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth, and then took the other. It's just as fair and having perhaps the better claim. Why? Because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had won them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere, ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. So yes, this road to holistic and multidisciplinary education is the road less traveled. But we are taking it because it's grassy and it wants wear. And we know road will lead on to way, way leads on to way, and there won't be any coming back. But ages and ages hence, when I look back, I shall tell this with a sigh, that I took the one less traveled, and that has made all the difference. So this road that we are taking today is, of course, the road less traveled. But we hope that somewhere ages and ages hence, we shall be telling this with a sigh, that we took the one less traveled, and that has made all the difference. There are two roads. You cannot travel both and be a traveler. You could never travel both roads and be a traveler. But if you take the road not taken, ages and ages hence, you will be telling this with a sigh, that has made all the difference. Right? So let us build our confidence on this path of holistic and multidisciplinary education, and let us take the lead of achieving it through the curriculum. And then there are several more examples. In my introduction, it was told that I have completed 2 leadership programs, one in the Ohio State University and another in the Monash University. So I have one example for you from both these universities that will help you see how they are implementing the integrative health education. The Ohio State University has a College of Medicine that is named as the Wexner Medical Center, and it offers many education opportunities through the Ohio State Integrative Health. They have the advanced competency in integrative health for the 4th-year medical students, and they have the integrative health training clerkship for the medical students. For all other undergraduate students also, they have a minor in integrative approaches to health and wellness, and they have an internship independent study. Also, at the Monash University, integrated healthcare research was done, and it was found that having a multicultural team made the team members feel open-minded, collaborative, cultural fun opportunity, knowledgeable, insightful, amazing, explorative, important, interesting, exchanging, innovative, friendly, non-judgmental, multidisciplinary, international, enriching, and enlightening. Monash University. Wonderful example. Okay. So now let us look at some example of multidisciplinary study, research, and outcome from the Cambridge University. We have already stated बैठ जाओ बस 10 मिनट और है मेरा, या जब तक प्रिंट आउट निकाल मजहर भाई के पास. So we've already stated that real life problems need multidisciplinary solutions. Disciplines alone may hinder innovation and knowledge. So we will see how the Hardy-Weinberg law, which is an important law that is taught in all evolutionary biology classes. We will see how Hardy-Weinberg law emerged from a cricket club light banter. But the value of this cricket club was that this was a club for scientists and academics from different disciplines in the Cambridge University. That's where they could come, bring perspectives from their disciplines, respective disciplines, look at the other discipline from the perspective of their own, and they could create new knowledge. Because solutions often lie beyond disciplinary silos. You know what is a silo? I must add a slide on a silo here. NEP envisions the breaking of silos, because NEP finds silos to be structures that have no avenues for growth. Silos are those physical structures that are made in agricultural farms for storing grain. There's a very small door from which the farmer can sneak in, store grain, and come out. There are no doors and windows. There are no ventilators. There is no cross ventilation of air, moisture, or illumination. That's what silos are. And that's where we start to exist when we do not come out of the disciplinary structures, the disciplinary boundaries, when we do not collapse the disciplinary boundaries and look outside. There is no growth. There is no growth in new knowledge. There is no innovation and creation of new knowledge. And hence, there is no industry-academia linkage. The industry-academia divide continues to widen. And therefore, education is not outcome-based. Education is not outcome-based. And this kind of education today is under serious threat because of the changing political economy in the neoliberal context, and also because of automation, artificial intelligence, and robotics. Our own existence, our very relevance is jeopardized. And the only way we can continue to be relevant is by being multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary. So friends, let me show you this beautiful example of the Hardy-Weinberg law. This is a law of genetics that is taught in all evolutionary biology courses. We all know about Gregor John Mendel. He was a monk in an Austrian church in Vienna. On his own accord, he picked up some interest in plant breeding, breeding his line of peas in his monastery in the backyard. And he came up with some very, very foolproof principles of inheritance. He said there are genes that carry traits, and these traits are either dominant or recessive, and they come from two parents, and they are inherited from one generation to another. So he studied first filial generation, F1, F2, F3. That's how he did. And he took characters like round and wrinkled, yellow and green. And he gave the law of independent assortment. He gave the law of segregation. And he gave the law of acquired inheritance of characters. 100 years after Mendel died, the genetics department in the University of Cambridge started coming across some papers from the United States that had almost proven mathematically that Mendel was wrong, because they said if the dominant allele is dominant and the recessive is recessive, then in due course of time, after several generations, natural selection should eliminate the recessive allele, but that doesn't happen in nature. So the Mendel's law of independent assortment is law of dominance of characters is actually wrong. Now, these papers were received in the genetics department, and there worked a geneticist whose name was Wilhelm Weinberg. Somewhere down in his heart, he knew that these studies that are disrobing Mendel of his position as the father of genetics don't have any merit, and Mendel was right, and he deserves to continue to be the father of genetics, but he could not prove it because he was just a geneticist. So with all his genetics professor merit in the Department of Genetics at the Cambridge University, he could not prove these papers wrong, and he could not prove Mendel right. In the same university, in the Department of Mathematics, worked a man called Godfrey Harold Hardy. Godfrey Harold Hardy, we all know, he's the same Hardy. All of you are engineers, you would be knowing. India has produced a genius of a mathematician called Srinivas Ramanujan. We are all very proud of him. He was a mathematical prodigy. He was such a genius and he gave such theories that people say they're still being used in quantum physics, in mission on Mars, etc. And if you go to Bangalore, if you go to his hometown, Kumbakonam, and even a rickshawala knows who was Srinivas Ramanujan. A very sad story of his life. He died just at 34. He had TB. If he lived with that mind of his, oh my God, what difference he would have made. Anyways, that's destiny. The person responsible for taking Srinivas Ramanujan to Cambridge, where he could do that mathematics which is now being used by the world, because otherwise Ramanujan would have perished in India. He was born in Kumbakonam. He did mathematics, but he was not valued. Nobody except his mother was actually interested in what he's doing. He married at a very young age. I think it was 14, 15, 16 when he got married. And then there were pressures of bringing an earning to the family, for which he was just not suited. He became a clerk in the Madras Port Trust. I know all this because I have read this book called The Man Who Knew Infinity by Robert Kanigel in 1991. If you're interested, you can even watch the movie. Now, he was just suffering from misery, afflicted with misery. All the while he worked as a clerk in the Madras Port Trust. He was gaining weight. All he wanted to do was his mathematics in his notebook, but he was supposed to make those charts and tables there. Ramanujan was just not happy. Nobody recognized his talent, and his talent was going to waste. But fortunately, he had the means and methods to reach out to this Cambridge professor, Godfrey Harold Hardy. Hardy became instrumental because at that time, Indians were also a subject of the crown. Hardy became instrumental in getting Ramanujan from India to Cambridge, where he stayed for 5.5 years, did the best of mathematics that came into records, that is still now being used in research. And then, unfortunately, Ramanujan died. So this is who Hardy was. Hardy was also a cricket aficionado, a cricket fan, just like you. And in Cambridge, he was not just doing mathematics, he also had a life. He used to go for lunches with his friends in the Miltonian Club. He used to play cricket at the Cambridge cricket grounds twice a week, in the afternoon, in the evenings. There he used to meet his friend Wilhelm Weinberg. And when they happened to talk about each other's work, just a light banter that happens between friends and colleagues, Hardy came to know what crisis Mendel is going through. And then the two of them sat together. They sat together and they decided that they will try to work out this problem. On one table, Weinberg brought his genetics. On the same table, Hardy brought his mathematics, especially algebra. And together they could come up with the Hardy-Weinberg law, where all Hardy had to do was apply a constant for the elimination factor of natural selection. And he gave this law where frequency of the dominant allele plus frequency of the recessive allele is supposed to be 1. And that's how we still have Mendel's status as the father of modern genetics. So that's what multidisciplinarity means, and that's how important multidisciplinarity is. And that's why when NEP says that our institutions should be multidisciplinary education and research universities, all of them, we agree that this vision of the NEP is the vision of the 21st century. So all the new structures that we have after the NEP, say for example, the NIRF, it also ranks and accredits institutions for their teaching, learning, research, outreach, and innovation, etc. Values multidisciplinarity. National Research Foundation also supports research projects, including interdisciplinary research. The NETF, that is the National Educational Technology Forum, uses technology in education, including online learning, digital textbooks, and virtual labs, and this can facilitate multidisciplinary learning and access to resources from different fields. The National Medical Council, Medical Commission again, which is responsible, which is the top regulator for medical education in the country, has introduced several reforms to make medical education more holistic, integrated, and patient-centric. It includes a focus on community health and preventive care, that is SPM. The NCTE is responsible for teacher education in India, and it has been working to improve the quality of teacher training and ensure that teachers are equipped to deliver. Just give me a second. So that's what the NCT is doing. It is also delivering holistic and multidisciplinary education. The skill development mission is also acquiring practical skills relevant to the job market. We have flexible curriculum for the students. We've already seen dual degree, a lot of choice to select the courses, the subjects from. We have experiential learning. That is, we have built it in the curriculum by student internships and increased community engagement. There is more research and innovation-based learning in the classroom, and there is holistic education for well-rounded and value-added education. As I said, universities are all in the coming 10 years, that is 15 years from NEP, destined to become multidisciplinary education research universities with autonomy, financial independence, and increased accountability. Now, for your students, if you are interested, you can always go through this document called Jivan Kaushal 2. Jivan Kaushal 2 is one document where you will find the full syllabus for the life skill development and life skill coaching in the areas of universal human values, professional skills, communication skills, and leadership and management skills. This can be accessed. It's in the free domain. The UGC has put it up on its own website. And you would all agree that our students, in order to excel as engineering graduates, as medical graduates, need to have good communication skills, need to have good professional and personal skills, and they need to also show leadership and management skills. And they must, in all cases, be persons of universal human values like love, truth, peace, and service, etc. So you can have a look at this document. I have shared with you the link also here. And this can be taken up by you in the classrooms with your students, or you can even introduce it as a value-added course or as a vocational course. So with that, I think we have come to an end. It's 2 o'clock. I want to thank you for your attention, and I want to seriously apologize for the intrusions in between. There were papers I had to sign, there were visitors. Actually, normally when we have these lectures after 2 o'clock, there's less of a disturbance. But today, because it was peak office hours, 12:30 to 2, I had visitors and I had papers. So I'm sorry for that. But thank you, my dear friends. It was wonderful interacting with you all. And it was great to know that I was speaking to a group of engineers. And it is one of the main focus areas that professional skills in the professional courses should be augmented with the idealistic and holistic and other skills. So thank you so much. Can I now end my presentation? And if there are any questions, I would love to answer them. Any queries? You have any add-ons? I'm always on the lookout for add-ons. If you want to add something from your perspective.
Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Dr. Girija. Really, it was a good session. And most important thing I liked about the session was whatever we are implementing. We are already implementing, we are autonomous, so we are already implementing this multidisciplinary projects. We have a lot of projects going on in the college, which are multidisciplinary. So your all theory was getting applied what we are doing too. So it was really nice to hear from you. And thanks a lot for giving the session.
My pleasure, Dr. Girija.
Yeah.
So all of you are participants from the same college?
Yeah. We are from Marathwada Mitra Mandal College of Engineering, Pune.
Wonderful. Pune is such a beautiful city.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am. This is Preeti Joshi from MMCOE IT department.
Okay.
Thank you for this wonderful session. As Girija ma'am said, some things we are already implementing in our college, and we could really correlate it with what you were delivering in their program.
I'm so glad to hear that, because that's the way forward. That's where the future belongs.
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Most welcome. I would always love to be in touch with you all if we can ever consult how we can take the mission of NEP forward.
Yeah, ma'am. We will surely inform our Dean Academics related to that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, do we end the session now?
Sir? Aniket, sir? Yeah, ma'am. I think sir is busy with something. Maybe he is busy with, he was having a lot of work also. So I would like to thank you from the bottom of heart for giving such a lovely session, and look forward for such more sessions in the future under MMTT.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was wonderful acting with you all. Please take care.
Yeah. Bye, ma'am.